Present, 6:30 a.m. Distance to target, 292 meters. Temperature, -5 degrees. Humidity, 72%. Downwind. Wind speed, 7 meters per second. As dawn approached, light snow began to fall. Kirigiri is wearing a white coat and was crawling on the snow. The target is not visible from here, but considering the enemy's ability, she must not be careless. Kirigiri-chan, hand. I took her right hand and wrapped it with both of mine. Her fingertips are almost as cold as snow. I just warmed her fingers for a while. Thank you. Yui-wan-sama, I'm fine already. Kirigiri pulled her hand from mine and returned it to the side of the gun. I stared at that hand with unease. Cocking. She gave the gun's bolt pull handle a push. The fateful bullet was fed into the chamber. Then her tiny finger squeezed the trigger. Ready to fire. Not long ago, 4:44 a.m. The fire of the fireplace began to weaken, and the faces of the men gathered in the reception room were covered with dark clouds. Some of them were flinching at the sound of the wind rattling the windows. The snow was still falling. We don't have any more firewood. Let's try finding anything flammable so we can at least make sure that the fireplace doesn't go out. The men stood up one after another and began to slam the chairs they were sitting under on the ground, breaking them. The sound of destruction echoed in the villa under the quiet snowy night. The broken pieces of wood were thrown into the stove one after another. Meanwhile, a woman is sitting on the sofa with her knees in her arms and looking at them, as if she felt that this kind of work should be left to men. The men surrounded the fireplace, their manic figures reflected on the floor, making them even more comical in the woman's eyes. However, the woman's interest was not in them, but in a child curled up on the sofa like her. The child's gender and nationality are indistinguishable, giving an unusual impression. Small in stature, with slender hands and legs, and skin so pale that the flow of blood can be hardly perceived. The child might be too cold, his jacket is not over his shoulders, but was folded and draped over his arm. The child's suit vest and tie looks out of place, reminiscent of upper-class children in old foreign movies. He, or possibly she'd sensed the woman's gaze and responded with a soft smile. A mysterious smile full of enigmatic aura. Aren't you cold? The woman awkwardly threw a question at him. He just nodded and looked back at the woman with eyes like deep springs. Where did you come from? A very far away land. He spoke for the first time. Even so, the child's gender is difficult to distinguish. Your name? Is it necessary? My name. Well, not really. It's hard to say if we'll get out of this situation alive. I'll ask you again if there is any hope of that happening. The woman said half-jokingly, but he just smiled innocently. He can still show such a smile under these circumstances, the woman thought. Speaking of which, what about the guy you were with before? The foreigner, I mean. I haven't seen him since then. Could he be your dad? No, if it made you think that way, then I'm deeply sorry. He shrugged his shoulders with exaggerated movements. He's not? So what is their relationship? He said he is going to find something to burn in the fireplace, and he hasn't come back after he left. I'll go take a look. He stood up. There is a faint fragrance. Ah, yeah, sure. But it's so dark, is it okay for you to go alone? Yeah, I have this. He took out a pen-shaped flashlight out of nowhere like a magician. Then he disappeared into the dim corridor. Weird kid. The woman watched his back going away while lighting a cigarette. He Mikagami Ray walked along the corridor with a penlight. This mountain villa was a private hotel operated by foreigners until decades ago, but now it's no longer what it used to be. It's completely deserted and turned into an uninhabited ruin. This is just one of the many similar buildings scattered on the snow-capped mountains after the skiing craze receded. The sign hanging here is still the same as it was at the time, telling people that there are souvenir keychains for sale in the reception room, but someone played a prank here. The words now on sale were partially rewritten as now on despair. Mikagami went up along the narrow stairs and knocked on the door of the next room, but there was no response. The door is locked, so he took out a lock-picking tool embedded in his tie clip and unlocked it in less than 5 seconds. He turned off the penlight, made sure no one was following him, and quietly slipped into the room, then quickly locked the door with his backhand. It's a small empty room. Originally supposed to be a guest room for people staying overnight, but now there is nothing here, except for a wardrobe lying on the floor by the inner window. A man is using the wardrobe as a platform to sit on. He is standing on his knees, his legs forming a triangle, his elbows resting on them, his thumb and index forming a circle, and he is looking out through it. At first glance, this pose looks childish, but it's actually a sniper stance with the knees supporting the elbows, a habit he uses in search for targets. Although the gun is not in his hand now, his eyes looking out of the window are extremely sharp, undoubtedly the eyes of a sniper. He is the 000 rank detective known as the law enforcer, Johnny Arp. Remember to lock the door, he said without looking back. It's locked. Good. The atmosphere is finally becoming suitable for a tragedy. 6 men and a woman have wandered into an uninhabited mountain villa. It'd be a lie to say nothing will happen. See, I'm thrilled, Mikagami said to Johnny's back. However, he did not respond, still facing the window. Have you seen anything? Mikagami also stared out the window with him. It's almost pitch black outside, and nothing can be seen. I'm watching the snow, said Johnny. You're like a poet. Yes, drawing a ballistic trajectory with 160 grams of gunpowder is ink. That's the poetry I write. A sniper must learn to feel the sky and earth with his body, like a poet. The direction and strength of the wind, the air density, temperature changes, gravity, Coriolis force, sniping is a whole nother universe. The corners of his stubbled mouth broke into a smile. I also like talking about the universe. Ray, you're a good partner to have around. Johnny loosened the circle formed by his fingers and gave a thumbs up. Of course, I'm not gawking at the snow. You see, the corners of the snow crystals are starting to become dull, which proves that the temperature above is rising. The weather forecast said the snow will fall at dawn, but from the way it's looking, it should stop by then. You can see the snow crystals? You can't see it? Johnny asked in disbelief. How strong a person's eyesight can be to the point they can clearly see the shape of snow crystals dancing in the night sky. Mikagami has witnessed many incredible things in his life, and Johnny himself seems to be one of them. Let's stop talking about that, Ray. I think it's time for me to give my chin a clean shave. Wouldn't I look cooler that way? You're already cool enough. I knew you'd say that, Johnny said, brushing his stubble. I look like a wolf, yeah? A lone wolf kind of guy. Fufu, wolf guy-san, do you prefer it hot or cool? Mikagami took out a thermos vacuum bottle from the jacket on his arm, poured the liquid inside into the cup, a hot air rose from the darkness, and the mellow aroma permeated. Oh, coffee? Very clever, Ray. It's not a joke about Americans drinking American coffee, is it? Just so you know, that's not how it works in my country. Delicious. It reminds me of Grandpa's coffee. Our family used to call it the taste of Arizona's dry breeze. It seems there is still some time before the event. Mikagami changed the subject as if to confuse Johnny. About 28 hours have passed since the Black Challenge envelope was opened. The event has not yet begun, all the characters have finally all taken to the stage, yet it's still at this phase. About 2 hours ago, a bus carrying skiers skidded on its tires and broke down at the top of the cliff. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and the bus was not damaged, but it got tilted toward the outer edge of the cliff and is in a very unstable state, so the passengers had to get off the bus. It was a blizzard outside, and the view was quite bad, but after wandering in the snowy mountains for a while, they finally found an uninhabited villa, and then rushed in as if they had grabbed a lifeline. Of course, all of this was arranged by the Crime Victims Relief Committee that gives the revenge seekers the chance to carry out their perfect crime. Of the bus driver must have been either a member of the organization or hired by them. In fact, on the way to the villa, the driver disappeared without a trace, and the unsuspecting passengers thought that the driver was unfortunately separated from them in the snowstorm. 7 passengers took shelter in the villa. Mika Game and Johnny disguised themselves as skiers and managed to blend in with them. By the way, Yakudiro Suzuri, the detective player this time, did you find out if he is among the tourists? That long-haired wild man? He can probably win first place if you put him in the snowy mountain survival competition. But it's hard to say what his case-solving capabilities are. I think his character is kinda like me. Mainly the wild aspect. According to the detective shelf classification, he is ranked 5, generally speaking, he is somewhat capable. He received the challenge letter and did not ignore it, but came here, and from this point of view, we can say he is more on the reliable side. Johnny, maybe you'd be better off being a little more careful. If a murder does happen later, the first one people will suspect is you, because you do look very suspicious. Ah, funny you say that, Ray. Johnny grinned widely, but he didn't take his eyes away from the window. Who cares what happens after the event? For us, the climax is the present moment, in the silence before the storm. And in the midst of the silence, there is only one thing we should do: hunting deer, that's all. Both Kirigiri Kyoko and Samidare Yui will definitely appear. With a gun on their little shoulders. Their goal is to prevent the Black Challenge from taking place, to protect human lives, and to preserve the pride of the detective. They will definitely appear. That doesn't even need to be said. So Johnny is waiting for them. He blended in with the people involved in the case for this reason, to get to the scene before Team Kirigiri, who want to prevent the case from happening, to ambush and counter-sniper. A sniping match going in the background of an ongoing arbitrarily chosen Black Challenge. Determined by if the Black Challenge gets interrupted or is continued, this is Johnny's game, shoot down the angel. Kirigiri, as well as Johnny, have not been informed of the details of the Black Challenge case that will be the stage for the event. To ensure fairness in the game, a battlefield unknown to both sides was chosen. The only information available to both sides was the contents of the challenge letter. Of course, from the contents of the challenge letter, it is possible to infer what kind of case will happen and who is the culprit. And this reasoning is the key to determining the fate of this sniper battle. What level is Kirigiri's sniping skills? Unfortunately, it's a complete mystery. It's been years since I taught her how to handle guns. She was a tiny little thing back then, like she just came out of the incubator, and the most she was able to use was a .22 caliber gun. If she was to fire a shot with a bigger gun, it's possible that she would have flown out of the atmosphere and reached Mars due to the reaction force. That being said, since you started such a game, you have confidence in her ability, right? To be precise, I am very optimistic. After all, that's the student I taught. For me, the most formidable opponent in this world is only my own image reflected on the lake. If there is any other enemy, it would be someone instructed by me. Johnny grinned. There is no telling when Team Kirigiri would show up, and perhaps they are now moving secretly through the white chaos of this blizzard, looking for the best sniping spot. The fawns will definitely start moving at dawn, so take a break before then, Ray. You're the one firing the gun, and you're the one surveilling. There's nothing I need to do. You can go to those people in the reception room and act like a spoiled kid. I'm in charge of being cool, and you're in charge of being cute. This kind of work will bore me to death. Mika Game took out binoculars from his bag and looked out the window. The U.S. military standard thermal vision showed the scene of the snow-capped mountains in black and white. This kind of binoculars can sense the temperature and show the warmer parts in strong colors, but there is no body heat in the surrounding area. The perimeter of the villa is surrounded by a birch forest, and the field of vision is not very open. The building is located right in the middle of a depression, which makes this place disadvantageous for scouting. Aren't they going to shoot before dawn? They should have prepared night equipment as well. Of course, that's why I'm staying here motionless like an old man sitting on a park bench reminiscing about his life. But they will wait until dawn. They can't be so stupid as to take the risk of getting hit. If it's the two of them, maybe they can really do it. Then I'll applaud them. Johnny clapped his hands exaggeratedly. There is one thing I want to confirm with you, Johnny-san. You really don't know the details of this Black Challenge, right? Are you doubting me? Then think about what people call me. I'm the great law enforcer, Johnny Arp, right? Just like nickname suggests, I'm a person who strictly follows the rules. As the saying goes in this country, Kome sai dai dot. That's not a saying, it's a 4-character idiom. To be precise, it's Kome sai dai dot. Kome sai dai. Then let's share intelligence about the facts we learned so far. Johojo QQQ? Is this another 4-character idiom? Or we can call it a briefing about how the events will develop after this. I think it would be better for us to compare each other's reasoning. After all, our opponents are Kyoko-san and Yui-san. If we can't keep the same pace as them, you will literally get blown off your feet. Your attitude of not forgetting respect towards your opponents is exactly the same as mine, which I like. Then, first of all, about the perpetrator. The guy in the red ski jacket, right? I think so too. The murder weapon rope is in the next room. Outside the window of the next room, right? Exactly. It's hanging from the eaves and frozen, correct? Yes. It looks basically like an icicle, about 1 foot, about 30 centimeters, long and 1 inch, about 2.5 centimeters, wide at most. No one would know it's a rope at first glance because the surface is covered with ice. It concerned me because it's the only icicle which is unnaturally large. You noticed it before you entered the villa? Because I have good binoculars with me. A completely frozen rope can even be used to hammer nails. A full blow to the head with it is enough to cause lethal injuries. It's very close to a retractable baton when viewed as a blunt weapon. A rope that isn't used to strangle, but to beat with. That's what Mikagami and Johnny have reasoned about the White Mountain Villa murder case. The mysterious murder weapon prepared by the committee will be taken from the eaves in advance by the criminal and hide it indoors. At this temperature, the ice will not melt immediately, so it will not be useless. Afterwards, the criminal will call the target into the room and kill them when they aren't looking. The next card to use will be the footprint technique. After killing the victim, the perpetrator will take off the victim's shoes, put the ski poles in the shoes, and then fasten the shoes to the tops of the ski poles, either with ropes or tapes. This way, the perpetrator will have a footprint stamp of about 1 meter in length. And to extend the ski poles further, the criminal will tie it with other ski poles. 3 ski poles for each foot is enough. The perpetrator will stretch out the footprint stamp from the window of the second floor and press it onto the snow on the ground to imitate footprints. It will look as if the victim went out the back door and walked under the eave alone. After the footprints are made, the perpetrator will take the stamps apart and put the shoes back on the victim's feet. Next step is to simply push the body out of the window. Finally, the criminal will use a ski pole to poke off the remaining icicles and snow under the eave and let them fall towards the body. This will mark the completion of the technique. This creates the scenario of the victim went out from the back door and walked under the eave and unfortunately was hit by an icicle that fell from the eave and died. On the surface, it will appear like a sudden and unexpected death. Of course, some people will doubt whether such an accident is possible, but in fact, in cold regions, there have been examples of accidents caused by snow or icicles falling from eaves. It is common knowledge for locals that under the eave is a dangerous place, but a skier from the city wouldn't know that a moment of carelessness can lead to this accident. It's only natural to conclude that there have been no footprints around the body other than his own, and no one would think that the victim was beaten to death. Accident disguise techniques are particularly effective with first victims. The uninformed guests will not doubt that this is a murder. The detective would feel a little suspicious, but because the murder weapon written in the challenge letter does not match the death status of the victim, the detective will be puzzled, suspecting that it may be a mere accident and will limit his thinking. If there is any hard evidence that can be the key to solving the case, it will the murder weapon left in the criminal's hand after the crime, which will be stained with blood. However, by the time the detective remembers the existence of this kind of technique, the perpetrator would have already thrown it into the fireplace. Everyone except me was carrying ski bags, but only the guy in the red ski jacket had several ski poles. The perpetrator should be that guy. Don't you think it's too simple for the cost? The main technique should be the locked room one. It's also obvious from the amount of expenses. However, what happens on the second murder onwards has nothing to do with our sniper battle, so there's no need to check. Have you seen the detached house near this building? It looks like an ordinary mountain hut, but it's all made of ice, and it can be turned into a spectacular locked room, very committee style. Oh, come on. Mikagami sighed irritably. Isn't this a major spoiler? Now the locked room is ruined. I plan to take my time thinking about it. You were the one who said you wanted to share intelligence, right? I'm the kind who likes to save the best for last. Mikagami pouted. The two sides in this sniper battle are the attacker equals Team Kirigiri team who are trying to intervene and interrupt the Black Challenge, and the defender equals Team Johnny who are trying to ensure the smooth progress of the Black Challenge. If the first murder case is successfully completed according to the original plan and there is a victim, once this happens, Team Kirigiri, whose goal is to prevent disaster before it happens, will be regarded to have failed the challenge, and Johnny's side will win. Therefore, the events after the second murder will be just a formality, and Mikagami intended to have some fun going through the motions afterwards. Kyoko-san's team can naturally deduce that the footprint technique will be used in the first murder case, although I wonder if this has anything to do with the order written in the challenge letter. Logically speaking, the footprint technique needs to be used in shortly after the snow stops, that is, using it when the ground has not been trampled yet. In terms of faking accidental deaths, this method must also be implemented at a time when everyone has not yet begun to suspect each other, otherwise it will be ineffective. Do you think the fawns can reason this far? Yeah, definitely. Good. I've come to a conclusion. If these girls will try to ruin this whole Black Challenge with a single bullet, then there's only one place for them to aim at. As long as they snipe the perpetrator, the game will be theirs. But the chances of them shooting someone to win is almost zero. In that case, destroying the murder weapon, the icicle outside, right? Back in the present, 6:30 a.m. Mikagami looked out the window. As Johnny had predicted, the snow had already started falling less, and it looks like it might stop at any time. The surroundings are brightening up, allowing to see far away. The sky is still overcast, not exactly a refreshing morning, but a perfect day for sniping. At some point, Johnny had taken out the gun from his ski bag and set it up in the seated shooting position as earlier. He is using a sniper rifle with a high-precision scope, and his posture is as impeccable as a statue. He remained completely still, without a hint of the fluctuation of his breath. A perfect stillness, so to speak. He is in silence as if he has regained his original form of being one with his gun. The bullet was loaded, and the finger is on the trigger. The murder weapon targeted by Team Kirigiri is outside the window of the next room. Johnny did not choose that room as the sniper point, but is staying in the neighboring room. As for the reason, Johnny didn't specifically explain it, but Mikagami could deduce it. There is a large birch tree standing in front of the window of the next room, and about 10% of the frontal field of vision is blocked, so Johnny chose the neighboring room to ensure the widest possible field of vision. There are several other reasons that can be deduced. The next room will be visited later by the murderer to prepare the murder weapon, so it cannot be occupied by Johnny and Mikagami. Now that the snow has stopped, there is no telling when the perpetrator will make his move to carry out the murder. No one must get in the way by mistake. Mikagami and Johnny's goal is to ensure the smooth progress of the Black Challenge, so they need to prevent the perpetrator from having any extra doubts. For example, Mikagami and Johnny retrieving the outdoor murder weapon in advance to protect it from being sniped by Team Kirigiri will not work. If someone else moved the murder weapon that was supposed to be outside, and the culprit found out about that, he would undoubtedly be in disarray. His indecision might cause the crime to be postponed, perhaps even in this case until the 168-hour deadline. To defeat Kirigiri and Yui, playing little tricks like this won't do. It's enough to simply concentrate on how to carry out the counter-sniping. However, Mikagami put down the binoculars, picked up the rangefinder, and looked out the window vigilantly. The field of vision was panned slowly from left to right. Still no sign of them. It's almost time for them to show up. Of course, they should be wearing camouflage so that they can blend in with the snowy mountains. However, Mikagami is still very confident that if there is any movement, it will definitely not escape his eyes. But there is not the slightest sign of a moving object. The wind blew through the tree line, the snowflakes flickered, and flew in the air, gradually disappeared like a phantom. He looked further ahead on the tree line. Since there are few obstructions in this straight line, that is the most suitable place for an enemy to snipe from. But on the flip side, from this side, it also looks like that place is easier to snipe. Even the tiniest shadow has nowhere to hide there, but still no one is in sight. Beyond the road is a birch forest. If they are hiding in the woods and moving, there should be traces on the snow, but there are no similar traces in the vicinity. The rear of the hillside ridgeline is not visible from here, and it's possible for them to move there without being detected. The ridgeline is about 300 meters away from here. One could say that that line is the boundary where the enemy might approach from. In addition, considering the structure of the building, the range of places that can be sniped is further reduced. This villa is L-shaped, and the icicle with the frozen rope is located near the inner corner. Therefore, the position of the icicle can be visually confirmed only in the 90-degree direction opening of the inner corner, beyond which is blocked by the building and cannot be a sniper point. Under such extremely limited conditions, can Team Kirigiri evade surveillance and successfully hit the target? Mikagami put down the rangefinder and looked out the window with his naked eyes. Dark clouds shrouded, a cold scene. Like a landscape painting, everything is static. Team Kirigiri are nowhere to be seen. The Black Challenge will start soon. Things have come to this point, but they are not where they should be. This means that. Is this what you expected? Yes, let's see what they can do. At this time, something popped outside. After a short moment, the sound of gunfire resounded throughout the sky like distant thunder. An endless crescendo. All right, let's begin. Johnny said happily. Looking around, the birch branch near the building outside is badly damaged, and wood chips scattered in the air. 6:31 a.m. Very close. 5 or 6 centimeters down. I used binoculars fixed on a tripod to confirm the status of the target. The bullet hit the birch tree branch, opening a big hole in it. There are 2 bullets left. Making a correction, next time it will hit. Kirigiri pulled the bolt of the gun. The empty shell flew out and fell on the snow steaming. Immediately after Kirigiri pushed the bolt, the second bullet was sent into the chamber. These movements of hers were extremely smooth, like she is playing a musical instrument. She held her breath and resumed her firing position again. Silence. The trigger got pulled. The firing pin struck the detonator. This process only took 0.03 of a second. The 7.62mm bullet spun out at a high speed. Fine snowflakes fluttered under the shockwave. Kirigiri's body was wrapped in snow. Her figure pure and fantastical, contrary to the inorganic look of the stock digging into her shoulder. At the same time, I'll clear the way for you. Mikagami quickly opened the door. At the same time, Johnny's body facing the window turned around, racking his gun and facing back. Since the enemy is not in front, then they are behind. Despite no prior planning, the two cooperated very well. With the door already open, the front of Johnny's muzzle from the interior past the doorway through the hallway through the open door of the other room and through the window further in and through the window further inside leading out produced a ballistic path. Outside the window was a hill of birch trees. In an instant, like the morning star at dawn, a light flashed in the snow. It's a guiding light for snipers. The enemy's muzzle flash. Lock on roll. Johnny pulled the trigger. Johnny's bullet pierced the air, making a hole in the window pane of the opposite room before tearing through the cold morning air all the way. The shot happened almost at the same time as the other side's muzzle flash, but in this supersonic battle, a few moments of delay can open up a gap that would be difficult to fill. Instead of their bullets crossing each other, the enemy's bullet has already hit the target. Behind Mikagami and Johnny, something burst open immediately outside of the building. At the same time, hit. I couldn't help but scream out. A large piece of the root of the branch got gouged out, and only a layer of skin is left. It kept wobbling, then soon couldn't bear its own weight and fell down. As a result, they found a birch tree that was just what they wanted, and pulled off a beautiful snipe. As they guessed, there was the sound of something falling from above Mikagami and Johnny, and the snow piled up on the roof soon broke into an avalanche. The snow with icicles fell to the ground with a clattering sound. The murder weapon rope probably can no longer be used. The winner has already been decided. It was over in an instant. But Johnny's bullet. Looking through binoculars, the bullet seemed to hit the birch tree on the ridgeline of the hill, but there was no trace of Team Kirigiri around. I'll get your cute little braids, Johnny said with satisfaction and began packing his gun into his bag. They should have received my greetings. Really? The only person in this world who doubts me is myself. Well, enough about that. Ray, all the guests will come here after hearing the gunshots. Johnny put the ski bag on his back, then lifted up the wardrobe he was previously sitting on and turned it over. Inside was a small snowmobile. Wow, in a place like this. Come on, get on, I'm not a cheapskate who only let women on board. I'll give rides to kids, presidents, assassins, and anyone else who wants a ride. And of course, even my cute buddy. How will this case develop? Do you see an end? It won't go on anymore, round one is over. You are a fast switcher, aren't you? Ray, here's an iron rule of warfare. Johnny stepped on the snowmobile and turned the engine key. Reloading is never too fast. The snowmobile's tracks then sped across the floor as it carried Johnny and Mikagami both, crashing through the back door of the villa and disappearing into the snow. 6:32 a.m. Johnny's bullet passed over our heads and hit the branch of a nearby birch tree, which broke off and landed on the snow. Where did the shot come from? I didn't see where they were at all. One of the building's windows is broken, Kirigiri said, looking through the rifle scope. Looks like it has been shot from indoors. So I guess the muzzle flash revealed our position. Let's hurry and retreat before the second shot comes. She said this and kept her prostrate position while retreating back, only raising her body after making sure it's safe. The sniper spot we chose was a spot that was obscured by the ridgeline and overlooked the back of the villa. A place where we didn't have to worry about being spotted as long as we kept our profile low. Even so, Johnny noticed the instant flash from Kirigiri's muzzle, hitting so close to us. If we had given him a little more time to aim, we might have been counter-sniped. But this time we won. We beat the 000 rank detective. Amazing, Kirigiri-chan, I didn't think we could win. Johnny himself offered to fight us, and it didn't turn out to be a big deal. So at this pace we might be able to win easily next time. I don't think it will go that well. It will. Because in the past 2 weeks you have been training hard, the skin on your palms is almost worn out. Kirigiri-chan, your shooting skills have definitely blossomed. Even that smug nose high-up guy is probably shaking in his boots. Kirigiri didn't seem interested in my compliments, and she packed the gun with a blank expression as usual. She finally looked around and confirmed that nothing was left behind. Her eyes suddenly stopped on the snow. There is the birch branch that had just been shot down by Johnny. As soon as Kirigiri picked it up, her face changed immediately. She tried her best to hide it, but I still read panic in her expression. What? What's wrong? I asked, and she handed me the branch in silence. There are countless marks on the surface of the branch that looks like scrapes. At first, I thought it's marks from when the branch was shot. But on closer look, it's different. It was carved in with a knife. And it said, "Nice shot." What is this? I tilted my head puzzled. It's a message from him. And no way. How is this possible? Because if that's the case, that means they were here before us and carved their message on the branch. So they had already anticipated that we would choose this place as our sniper point. Is this some sort of a handicap? Kirigiri's expression grimaced. She looked very reluctant. Or are they just testing us? It's arrogant either way. Wait, what does that mean? This first game is just a practice match. It's probably easier to understand it as a tutorial. Next time it will officially start. Practice? I feel like an idiot for having been so overjoyed just now. When you think about it, our opponent is a 000 rank who has the highest title among detectives, and is definitely not an opponent that can be easily defeated. What's more, he isn't the only person on his team. He also has Liko Mikagami Ray, another 000 rank, as his partner. How much do you get by multiplying 000 and 000? They never taught us this kind of problem in school. Anyway, let's accept this victory with gratitude. Kirigiri took off her white woolen hat and patted his bangs. And then next time we will be sure to make them regret it. Don't you think so, Yuyona-sama? Why yeah, that's right. I helped her brush the snow off her shoulders and wrapped my hands around her completely cold fingertips again. On the back of her right hand, the scar left by the case a few days ago has not yet disappeared, which looks heart-wrenching. Even if it is a detective's badge of honor, it's too out of place for her pristine hands. What is it? Yui-1-sama. Kirigiri's voice brought me back to my senses, and I realized I had been staring at her hand. You've worked hard. I patted her on the head lightly. It's not over yet. Kirigiri put the bag with the gun on her back again and started walking forward in the snow. I quickly followed her. Sometime earlier, 2 weeks and 1 day ago, At a family restaurant near the school, I sat side by side with Kirigiri on the couch at a dining table. There aren't too many customers after school hours. The few guests who are sparsely seated are nothing more than housewives with children who are chatting happily, or students with reference books spread out in front of them. The restaurant is neither too noisy nor too quiet, and the environment is very pleasant. To me, however, this everyday scene seems a bit fake, as if it's a cut and pasted piece from elsewhere, giving me a sense of detachment from reality. This is maybe proof that I'm also starting to step into the world the one beside me is in. After a little hesitation, I ordered the most expensive deluxe parfait among desserts. Kirigiri only ordered a cup of coffee. Seeing the huge parfait placed on the table after it was delivered, Kirigiri's eyes widened. So big, can you finish it? It will be all gone in seconds. Do you want some? I'm full. How about we share it? Kirigiri-chan, you can eat as much as you want, and I will eat the rest. I don't want it. You obviously want to eat some. Come on, open your mouth. I scooped a spoonful of cream and reached towards Kirigiri's mouth. She turned her head to the side and firmly refused. You two really haven't changed at all. Hearing this voice, I looked in front. On the opposite seat across the dining table, Liko was somehow already sitting there. Liko. Surprise, confusion, and the joy of reunion, mixed with a little anger, I called his name with these feelings. He is dressed in the usual formal attire, and has a unique scent on his body. This place is starting to feel like it's in a different dimension from the surroundings after he appeared. Although Kirigiri also has that aura, Liko gave off a more alien feeling. Can I sit between you two? There's no room for you here. I said bluntly. You can stay there. Okay. What do you want? Kirigiri said with an emotionless attitude as she stared firmly at Liko. Please meet me at the family restaurant near your school on the coming January 20th. I received the letter yesterday, on the 19th. In other words, only a short week have passed since the battle with Ryuzoji Gekka, and another 000 rank immediately sent another invitation. But Johnny did say that he will write to us before he left. Speaking of Johnny Arp, he is a wild-type handsome American, and from the looks of it, very popular with women. He is known as the law enforcer within the investigative agencies, and is well known for his hunting ability, as well as his special status to carry firearms with official permission. Johnny Arp is far more eccentric than we imagined. I sighed. What's with this messy letter? A lot of bits are wrong. Is he waiting for someone to correct it? I'm sure he put his heart into it. He didn't do it on purpose. It's in his nature, I guess you'd call it. Oh, is it now, because he is an amusing foreigner? Sorry, but why don't you just break up with that troublesome individual and come back to us? I said this half-jokingly, but Liko suddenly lowered his head with a sad face. If I say I want to come back, will you accept me, Yui-san? Eh? Seriously? The unexpected answer surprised me. What should we do? Hey, Kirigiri-chan? Yui-wan-sama, don't let him fool you. Liko was having a fun. Foo-foo. Liko gave a mischievous smile. Oh, geez, so annoying. He is also one of the 000 ranks that surpass the limits of human intelligence. I can never understand nor resonate with him with my ordinary human senses. And then, I said, not hiding my annoyance. Where's Johnny Arp? Almost here. He said so, and at the same time, behind me, from the inside of the restaurant, there was a loud noise of glass shattering, as if there was an explosion. I looked back and saw that the large glass window facing the road had shattered, and a large black motorcycle crashed in. The customers in the restaurant were in a freakout, hiding far away to observe the situation. The motorcycle roared like a wild beast, and it looks like no customers was affected when it crashed in. The smell of exhaust fumes from the motorcycle began to fill the area. A tall man in a denim jacket turned off the engine, got off the motorcycle, and then took off his helmet and threw it away. A foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes. No mistake, he's Johnny Arp. Hey, are you okay? Any injuries? The waitress ran to him and asked. I'm fine. He took the waitress's hand and kissed it. Make me a cup of hot coffee, please, and then bring me some French fries with a little extra salt. Why, yes, sir. The waitress blushed and rushed back to the kitchen. Johnny saw us, raised his hand and walked towards our table in a relaxed manner. I want him to stay away from me if he can. I've kept you waiting, he said with a slight smile. Can I sit here? Johnny pointed between me and Kirigiri. Kidding. He said immediately and sat down beside Liko. He sat opposite of Kirigiri. The tense air made the moment of silence as long as ours. However, Johnny didn't seem to care about it. With a father-like smile like in foreign home dramas, he pointed at Kirigiri and said, very cute ribbons. What's the reason for calling us here? Kirigiri went straight to the topic of blank face. Johnny shrugged, as if helpless, and gave Liko a glance. It seems that even he can't follow his own pace in front of Kirigiri. Look, I said it before, I want to play a game with you girls. We've already prepared it. It's called Johnny's Game, Shoot Down the Angel. Another game that treats human life as a plaything? I asked instead of the silent Kirigiri. If it was me from not long ago, I would have been scared to death seeing Johnny Arp, but right now I'm strangely calm. Don't look so serious, games should be fun, right? If it's not fun, then it's not a game. Johnny said while drinking the coffee on the table without permission. What the heck is this? You should add more sugar. It's too early for you to drink black coffee, Kyoko. The entire time you all have been putting us through a lot of trouble. How could we happily agree when you say something like, let's play a game, dot? I said quickly. What do you mean by you all? The Crime Victims Relief Committee. Aren't you one of their executives? Don't try to hide it now. I do accept the committee's work, but I'm not here on behalf of them. I'm not interested in their religion at all. Religion. It's the first time I've heard someone describe the committee that way. Indeed, it's not strange to say that they are like a cult group with a supreme leader as their center. I don't know what you're thinking, but the Crime Victims Relief Committee is nothing more than a single structure formed purely from Mikado's spirit that bloated and gained shape in this world, without the will and intention of anyone else. Everyone else in the organization are nothing more than slaves with Mikado's brain as their master. I don't quite understand what you mean. Since you say that you have nothing to do with the committee, that means you are not our enemy? What a straightforward question. I like your directness, sweetheart. Johnny held his face in his hand as he stared at me. For a moment, my heart skipped a beat, but I forced myself to stay calm and glared back. At this time, the waitress brought the coffee and fries, and Johnny gave her a $100 bill as a tip. What should I do about the motorcycle over there? Can you please let it rest there for a while? Absolutely. The waitress bowed and left. The customers around us peeked over here from time to time, but none of them had any intention to leave, still keeping the everyday scene as if nothing has happened just now. They probably thought there was no danger, so they decided to make peace with it. It's a really weird scene. If I have to choose between you little girls and Mikado and the committee, of course it would be you. In that sense, I'm on your side. I don't believe that. I retorted without hesitation. I would never believe it even if he is saying so himself. They don't believe it, Ray. Johnny smiled and turned to Liko. Liko shrugged, showing a somewhat troubled expression. This reaction is only natural, considering all those detectives you two have encountered so far in all those cases. Liko said. But think about it, Johnny-san aside, do you think I'm the kind of person who would do what the committee orders? I'm here now, which in itself is proof that this has nothing to do with the committee. I guess. He never belonged to any organization, he just wants to solve mysteries freely, that's why he has been hiding. There is no way a person like him will suddenly join the committee now. Is it true they are on our side? I looked again at the two guys sitting side by side across the dining table. Both of them have lovely smiles and innocent faces. Yet I still can't believe them. If you are on our side, why do you still want to play games? That's a weird question. Johnny said, pointing at me with half-eaten fries. Isn't it normal for friends to play games with each other? Games themselves are played for fun. What is your purpose? Kirigiri asked briefly. As I said, the purpose is to have fun playing the game. Let me explain. Liko interrupted Johnny. It may be difficult for Kyoko-san and Yui-san to understand that there is really no ulterior motives, no secrets, and no cover-ups about this matter. You might as well think that what's happening this time is the opposite of the Ryuzoji Geka example. There is only one very simple childish motive: we want everyone to play a game together. I didn't expect to be called childish by you. Johnny interjected in disapproval. It's a luxury for adults to be able to enjoy pure games of strategy. Games like these are mostly only for highly intelligent people. See, do you understand now? He is that kind of person. Liko spread out his hands a little. So that's how it is. I feel like I know Johnny Arp a little bit, he is just the way he is. Since it has nothing to do with the committee, then there is no reason to fight against you. Kirigiri said this with a blank face, intending to stand up. She is particularly aloof and cold today. Johnny frantically tried to hold her down. Wait, I knew you would say that, so I prepared a generous prize. Little girls always want everything, it's a real headache. Want to know what the prize is? It's the thing you want the most right now. The thing we want most? I asked. An express ticket to Mikado. Johnny took out a black envelope from his jacket pocket. Although it's the same envelope from the committee that we have long been used to seeing, it doesn't have the bright red seal on it. What's this? We'll tell you what's inside when you win. How is it? Are you interested? How disappointing. Kirigiri shook her head slightly. We can find Shinsen by ourselves without this sort of thing. Let's go, Yuyona-sama. Wait. See, I told you. Liko showed a sneer. They're not going to get hooked on something like that. At least hear me out. If you girls have any pride as detectives, Johnny finally stood up, trying to press us back. Then you will definitely challenge this game. Pride as detectives. Are you willing to listen? Well, sit down first. We all took our seats again. Johnny had a sip of his coffee and took a breath. Yarier, okay, I'm going to explain the content of the game next, but I have something to confirm with you before that. Have you taken care of the gun I gave you? I nodded. After the battle with Ryuzoji Geka, Johnny threw a rifle to us, and it's now stuffed under the bed in my dorm room. Good. Treat it like a found kitty, cuddle it in your arms while you sleep. That gun will return to you as much love as you give it now. Ray, show it. Yes. Liko took out two small flat silver boxes from inside his jacket, which is draped over his arm. I think it's called a cigar case? The two small boxes got placed side by side in the center of the dining table. Liko gently opened one of the small boxes like a treasure chest. Inside are 9 things with pointy ends that looks like AAA dry batteries. I immediately knew of what they are. Bullets. .308 Winchester bullets, very common rifle bullets, of course the gun you have can use it. The bullets on the family restaurant table are sandwiched between the coffee and fries, it surprisingly doesn't look out of place. You probably already figured out that guns and bullets are going to be used in this game. Yep, it's a sniper battle. Wait a minute, how is this a game? I yelled. You are a firearms expert, aren't you? We are complete amateurs here. It's like an elementary schooler playing against Major League Baseball players. There's no way for us to win. She knows how to use a gun. Johnny said, pointing to Kirigiri. Right? Yes. Kirigiri nodded. Kirigiri-chan. Go on. Good. Then I'll explain the rules. Johnny said excitedly. This game is divided into 2 teams of observers and snipers. Of course, you two are in a team. No objections, right? No. Good. Our team is me and Ray. Fufu, we won't lose. Liko said with a deliberate smile. The stage of the game is the location of the upcoming Black Challenge. It might be an isolated island, or maybe an enclosed mansion. Several men and women will be concentrated there. A murder will happen, and the murderer will be one of them. The person who will buy the murder techniques from the Crime Victims Relief Committee with the intent of taking revenge will be waiting with bated breath for that moment. And of course, depending on the amount of expenses a detective will be called accordingly. We don't have to play the detective role? I asked. Yes, you are complete outsiders, and we are the same, and that's the most interesting thing about this game. Johnny said happily. I really don't understand what's so interesting about this. I will continue. In the next few days, you will receive the Black Challenge letter. This plot development is already familiar to you, but one thing will be different from usual. That is, the challenge letter will not have your name on it, and the detective summoned will be a stranger. So, what will you do? Overlook it because it doesn't concern you? The next murder case is going to happen, so there's no way we will treat it as nothing. I replied without hesitation. Since we have the challenge letter in hand, we can go to the location written on it, and we can also deduce the murder techniques from the text. Even if we are not the summoned detective according to the rules, we can still respond to the case as normal detectives. What's more, every time a committee's case is solved, we can get one step closer to them. Good answer, sweetheart. However, at the same time, the same challenge letter will also be sent to us, and it is only at that time that we will know the contents of the challenge letter for the first time. The game begins with each side reasoning about the events that will happen next. Knowing the contents of the challenge letter for the first time? How is this possible? You are a member of the committee. There's nothing strange about it. My task in the committee is mainly to deal with the aftermath, eliminating those who violate the rules or lose the game. Even if I don't know the contents of the case, it doesn't affect the cleanup work. But about that, I can. Only swear on my reputation as the law enforcer and ask you to believe that I will not cheat. Got it, please continue. Now then, next time will be the showdown. You have gotten used to black challenges by now, and it should be no longer a challenge for you. You will appear at the scene of the crime in style as detectives, but it will be a big problem for the criminal, because they will have more enemies, and that's unfair no matter how you look at it. That's our turn to step in. We will be the guardian angels of the criminal involved. Does that mean you want to help the criminal? Yes, that's what I mean, sweetheart. But don't get me wrong, we're not protecting criminals for the committee's sake. In the end, it's just in-game positions, the red team and the blue team. If you're the offensive team that wants to prevent disaster before it happens, then we are the defensive team that removes all obstacles on the scene to ensure the smooth progress of the case. I think I understand most of it. Kirigiri said. But if it's about preventing the crime from happening, then there's no need for a gun at all. I don't think a sniper battle will happen as you wish. That's right, you must be the first to subdue the criminal, or find a way to make the murder technique ineffective, and prevent the crime in some very clever ways. However, the theme of this game is still sniping, a battle where fate is decided with a single bullet. That's why, Ray. Yes. Liko took 4 small radios out of his jacket and placed them side by side on the table. 2 of them are marked with red tape and the other 2 are marked with blue tape. These are locators. Different colors for different teams, 1 for each person. You must carry it with you during the game. Throwing it aside or hiding it somewhere will be considered a violation. What's the use of this? This machine can tell the distance between the 2 teams. There will be no reaction between the locators of the same color, but between red and blue, if the locators of different teams of different colors are close to within 200 meters, it will sound and light up to remind you, and you can most likely deduce where the other team is based on the position of the flashing LEDs. Do you understand what this means? If you get within 200 meters, you will be shot. Kirigiri said calmly. Exactly. Then we finally have to explain the victory conditions. The condition for your victory is to prevent the black challenge from happening. That's all. As long as the murders foreshadowed in the challenge letter, even if one of them is rendered impossible to complete, then you will win. No matter what methods you use. That means you can shoot whatever you want. It's okay to shoot the criminal? Kirigiri asked. Sure, as long as you can, Johnny said with a smile. But you can use up to 3 bullets each round. Johnny took 3 bullets from the cigar case, each with a light coating of color on the tip. Red, green, and yellow. Originally, I wanted to make this battle a one-shot, one-kill, but for you girls, I increased the bullets to 3. The bullets are dyed to ensure that neither side can cheat. You can just dig the bullet out of where it's shot and check it. This will let you know how many bullets got used. Of course, I won't bother checking each bullet one by one, but the rules are rules. You have to remember that if you fire more than 3 bullets, you will be found out immediately. The bullet's order is green, then yellow, and finally red, just like a traffic light. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where you have to use the red bullets. What about your victory conditions? When Kirigiri asked. Johnny made a gun shape with his finger and slowly pointed it at Kirigiri. Their objective is to remove all obstacles. Which means shooting Kirigiri. No. This game is still too dangerous. Maybe we can indeed prevent the case from happening. Maybe we can indeed save a few lives, but that doesn't mean putting our own lives in danger. No, if it is her, she would go. Because of this, I have to stop her. Kirigiri-chan, let's not take his offer. Our victory condition is, Johnny continued, ignoring my words. Successful counter-sniping. Counter-sniping means eliminating the enemy sniper. Oh, but don't be so afraid, sweetheart. Like I said just now, in the end, we are on your side, and we don't care what the committee thinks. We just want to play a fun game. So, we're not going to kill our opponents in the game. Then, if I hit one of Kirigiri's ribbons, then we'll count it as a round win for us. The purple ribbons, only a few centimeters wide, are hanging just behind her ears. Can he shoot it with a bullet the size of a pinky fingernail from 200 meters away? How can anyone do that? No, if he can really do it, then I hope he can hit. If the bullet misses the target even slightly, it will graze the head. If it's a bad shot, it can even hit the head directly. We don't need to play such a dangerous game with them. Kirigiri-chan. It might be a game for them, but for those who are involved in the murder case, it's a matter of life and death. That's true, but it's the detective's job to solve the case. Kirigiri flipped the hair on her face. That's reason enough to fight. She said it as a matter of fact. However, I knew that behind her frozen expression, there is a passion that burns like fire. The reason to fight. For her, who was born as a detective, responding to cases is the same as living. As long as the case exists, that is a reason to fight, nothing else is needed. Indeed, maybe that has been the case so far. But she lost too much while fighting the committee. The victims of the cases, as well as fellow detectives and family members. I am sure she would not admit it, but I believe that for her, there is no longer that single reason to fight, but also regret and anger for what she has lost, with mourning and redemption for what has been lost. And she will never show these feelings. I'm done explaining the rules. Johnny put his palms down on the table. By the way, I forgot to mention one thing. There are 3 sets of 3 colored bullets here, a total of 9. I'm sure you can figure out from this that the sniper battle will be decided in 3 rounds. Like a tennis match, whoever wins 2 rounds first wins. If we win, you will give us the information about Mikado, right? Yes. What if we lose? It's not in the cowgirl style to think about losing before she even starts the game. I'm not a cowgirl. If we lose, what are you going to ask for? I have no demands. Johnny shrugged exaggeratedly. I guess you still don't understand. I don't want money, medals, or awards, not to mention your lives, your future, or your hopes. I don't want any of that. I just want to have fun playing games. I groaned. Johnny Arp is quite a difficult person to deal with. It would have been easier to understand if he attacked us with undisguised malice and hostility, but now I can only see that his motive really seems to be to have a good time. The reason why he chose the black challenge as the stage of the game is just to use the case as a bait to hook Kirigiri. As long as it is for his own pleasure, he can sell out the committee. Not only that, he will even sell out his boss. So, an attention-seeking spoiled child who doesn't care about other people's problems? Since you want to play games so much, why don't we just go to the arcade to play together? There are shooting games with guns there too. Oh, that's good too. Let's go play. I should have known better before saying that. When will the black challenge be delivered? Kirigiri asked. Kyoko, this question can be considered a sign that you are willing to participate, right? Yes. Hey, Kirigiri-chan. Excellent. I'll make the arrangements. The first black challenge will be delivered in about 2 weeks. And oh Ray. Yes. Liko took out a small object with an LCD screen from inside his jacket, which looks like a kitchen timer. Typically, the countdown starts the moment the detective opens the challenge envelope, but we're not playing the detective, so we won't know when it will start. And that's where the timer comes in. It's connected to the chip on the detective's envelope, and the countdown starts as soon as the envelope is opened. How convenient. I sarcastically said. Since there is such a thing, all detectives who accept the black challenge should be issued 1 each. Once the countdown starts, it's a signal that our game has started at the same time. You have to keep this timer with you. What if the countdown starts during class? Then you stand up and say, teacher, bathroom, haha. Johnny burst out laughing. It seems better to ask for a leave of absence from school for 2 weeks. About the gun you gave us. Kirigiri continued calmly. I saw signs of modification. Is that something you believe is fair too? As expected from Kirigiri, you found out. It's a Remington M700, one of those common American rifles that will probably bore historians for the next 500 years. It comes out wherever you dig. That's how it feels at least. The one I gave you is a particularly good quality one from a good sold on the market, but it's not enough. If you just take it for deer hunting, then it shouldn't be a problem. But if you want to shoot with high precision, it needs to be tempered. For example, the part that connects the striker to the trigger is called a sear, and it might be loose, or it might not be polished enough, which will affect the sensitivity when pulling the trigger. People who consider themselves snipers never use factory condition sears as it is. Some will also replace the extractor with a stronger material or adjusting the weight of the stock. Simply put, treat it as a gift to a queen, cultivated into a dignified gun, with no high-end features, but outstanding accuracy. It's good enough as long as nothing extra was added. How could I be dishonest about firearms? Well, anyway, the practice bullets are hidden in the double bottom of the box. Did you find them? Train well before the game starts. If you don't have enough bullets, just tell me. I'll prepare it for you. Training, huh? If we do what he says, someone will call the police and arrest us right away. But if we don't train, it feels like we will have no chance of winning. And besides Kirigiri, I have no idea what the structure of a gun is and the basic principles of how it works. Do you have any other questions? Johnny asked. What is the purpose of the committee's activities? Kirigiri asked a question. Ask some game-related questions. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the committee. I'm just a scavenger hired by them, remember? Is it true that the revenge plays staged in the black challenges are provided to an audience in the form of an entertainment program? This kid is something else, I swear. I can only imagine what you've been through. Johnny glanced at me sympathetically. They say they're selling the right to watch the black challenge at a high price, which seems to be true. Otherwise, it's hard to explain where the money that can form hills is coming from. But at the end of the day, it's just to raise funds. I don't think that's their actual purpose. Speaking of which, Ryuzoji Geka, the guy who risked his life many times to save more lives than anyone else, said something like that. If the committee is nothing more than that, then I wouldn't have worked with it in the first place. I think he also found other meanings in the committee's activities from his own perspective. He was using the committee as a system that could provide relief to more people. So, what is the committee to you? I asked. This question must be asked. Johnny answered without hesitation. A place to have fun, he said with a childlike expression on his face. In my opinion, both Mr. Geka and Mikado overthink it. I can't spend my life doing something I don't enjoy. Right? Don't you think it's fun being a detective? Fun being a detective? I never thought of that. Most of the time, it is hard and grueling. I don't think detectives are about having fun in the first place. Oh, just like your appearance, exactly what a model student would say. My goodness. Okay, listen, model student with glasses, if you're not happy, then you aren't obliged to be a detective. I myself feel happy solving mysteries, I feel happy arresting criminals, and I feel happy helping others. That's it, nothing else. Even if it involves someone else's life? That's why it's fun, isn't it? Johnny said like it was for granted. How can you become a detective for fun? Detectives are needed when someone is crying for help, when someone is in grief. If this situation makes a person have fun, then I don't think that person's ethics are suitable for a detective. However, I somewhat also find this feeling enviable. I wish I could say from the bottom of my heart, it's fun being a detective. But when I look back and see the countless dead bodies lying on the ground, can I still say this? Is Shinsen the same as you? I asked, and Johnny shrugged slightly. I don't quite understand what he thinks. But he looks like he's having a lot of fun when he's solving mysteries, locked rooms, secret codes. These things are probably like toys to him, just like guns are to me. In that sense, maybe I really am like him. Shinsen seems to regard Kirigiri-chan as an enemy. Why is that? That's what that man said. Shinsen could have inherited the Kirigiri family name, but his status fell by the wayside due to the birth of Kirigiri Kyoko. He was once the disciple and partner of Kirigiri Kyoko's grandfather, and he should have inherited the Kirigiri name. But that was also a conclusion of a speculation from a one side, not what Shinsen said himself, so it's not clear what the actual situation is. You want to ask why he is targeting Kyoko? Well, isn't it because she's cute? Johnny said lightly. Ah, just kidding. No wait, the cute bit wasn't the joke here, rather. He doesn't look like he is targeting Kyoko in the first place, is he? Really? It's ridiculous that an organization of that size exists to bully a single girl. And the committee was established about 10 years ago. At that time, as a detective, Kyoko was a rookie who could not even walk steadily. What's the point of targeting her? I don't get it. What does Shinsen want? Why does the Crime Victims Relief Committee exist and where is it heading? Johnny, don't you think you're giving away too much information when you haven't lost the game yet? Liko stepped in. Oh, you're right. At this rate, I might accidentally reveal the contents of the prize. Liko, don't talk too much. I intervened. Cheating isn't good, Yui-san. Are you our buddy or enemy? What do you think? Liko tilted his head with a broad smile. Didn't you just say you were on our side? That's what Johnny-san said. Yes, I am on your side. Johnny also replied with a broad smile. Two troublemakers stinking together. Okay, I have a date with my girlfriend next, and it's almost time to go. Johnny stood up and took a last sip of coffee. Wait, I have a good idea. He said so, and sat back in his chair. It definitely won't be a good idea. I always felt like something is missing from this game, and now I finally understand what it is. What is it? A sense of tension. Neither party has to take any risks. We're both involved in the case as outsiders, and I'm sick of safe zones. Even if it's a game, this is too relaxed. I have a bad feeling about this. That's it. Johnny picked up the red bullet. Only the third red bullet can be used to fire at the opponent. Wah! This condition is only beneficial to your team, right? We don't plan to shoot people at all. I shouted out loud. No, I'd say it's more of a remedy for you, right? You have to find the most suitable and decisive prey among the many targets, but the black challenge situations are ever-changing, and you may not find such targets at all, and even if you do, it may be difficult to successfully snipe them. At that time, you just use the locator to find and shoot me. Are you asking us to shoot and kill you? I didn't say to kill. As long as you incapacitate me, you will win. What if we destroy the gun? Kirigiri asked. Do you think I won't have a spare gun? Johnny smiled proudly. The only way to incapacitate me would be to give me a fatal blow. I'll tell you in advance, as long as I have a totem move I can pull the trigger. So killing him is the only way. Okay, it's time. Johnny clapped his hands twice as if to signal. He stood up, took out a $100 bill from his pocket and put it on the table. Keep the change. He said so, and walked toward the motorcycle. I thought he would get on the motorcycle, but he took out a skateboard that was tied to the motorcycle with a net, stepped on the skateboard and slid toward the front entrance of the restaurant. Then he turned around and gave us a thumbs up. Good luck. After saying that, he went out through the automatic door. All the customers in the store, including me, stared blankly at his back as he slid away. What can I say? As expected of a 000 rank. Very different from that 00. He's really generous. I picked up the $100 bills on the table. I'll have to exchange it for yens later, but with this I can relax and eat parfaits as much as I want. Don't you have to go with that guy, Liko? Well, I still want to talk to you too. I don't think you do. Because this might be the last time we meet. Liko said with his usual gentle smile. What does that mean? It means I am similar to other certain 12-year-olds. I only heard half of what he said. The thing I'm more interested about is, you asked him to call you Ray. I just didn't like the other names. Liko said a little pissed off, or maybe he was embarrassed. Hey, Liko. Kirigiri asked in a rare initiative. What are your plans after this game is over? I dunno. Aren't you going to continue playing some nonsense vigilante game with Johnny Arp? I asked, and Liko laughed bitterly. If you don't have a place to go, then come back to us. I won't be mad at you. I didn't expect someone to say stuff like this to me. I'm very happy. But, for me, this kind of future is unimaginable. Why? Do you two think that you can maintain your talents as detectives for a long time to come? Or in other words, can you continue to grow as detectives? Who knows? Then again, I don't have much talent in the first place. But I think Kirigiri-chan will always be a detective in the future. Maybe Kyoko-san, but I probably won't. Is it different? For me, this is the pinnacle of my talent, and I won't be able to surpass that. That's the hunch I have. No, not so much a hunch, but some kind of clearer prediction, I think. And I always predict accurately. I think it's the first time I've heard Liko say something pessimistic. Or is it just him saying whatever comes to mind as always? The magic that was available to us as children becomes unavailable to us as we grow older. If you don't like it, then you have to die. An example would be Di Gawa, who left his name in the history of mathematics in his teens and then died at the age of 20. Gawa. Are you planning to commit suicide? No, Gawa didn't commit suicide. He fought a duel for a woman and died from the injuries he suffered during the duel. You want to die in a duel too? It's okay if Yui-san is willing to be that woman. He said, with his usual gentle smile. It's very typical of him to say something like this, but I can't even guess how much he's hiding of his true feelings. I never thought about them losing their talents. I even felt that their talents would always exist in them and grow little by little. But, when I think about it more, no matter how good an athlete is, one day they will retire. And since talents decline, it will disappear one day. Of course, the talents of detectives are no exceptions. Liko, who is above others in all aspects, may also have his own worries and entanglements. However, he doesn't seem to be particularly sad. Is it because he has no obsession with his detective identity? All in all, after this game is over, I'm going to behave and study. Study? I couldn't help but ask. What else do you want to learn now? There are still many unsolved mysteries in this world, the missing antimatter, the existence of dark matter. I plan to study astronomy and cosmic physics to solve the mysteries of the universe that are yet to be solved. Oh, I didn't expect you to be so serious. Well, first I plan to use Johnny-san's connections to sneak into Area 51 and find out the truth there and see if there really are intelligent life forms beyond Earth. I mean, power to you to go study and meet aliens, but why wait until after the battle with us? What's the point of you participating in this game? I'm the same as Johnny-san in that sense, I'm here for fun. Willing to sacrifice others for your own enjoyment is the mindset of a criminal. That would be more convenient for you, wouldn't it? We're going to shoot each other anyway. It won't break your heart more shooting down a devil than an angel, right? Liko put on an evil expression and winked, supposedly trying to imitate a demon. If the two of you still don't want to participate in the game, then I'll kill 2 or 3 of the customers here now, so that Yusin will also. Stop it. I interrupted him loudly. It's not funny even if it's a joke. Fufu, then let's have fun playing games together, pure and simple. I wonder if it will end up being fun. Kirigiri said with cold eyes. Because I will shoot you if I have to. Now we're talking. Liko jumped up from his seat. He snatched away half of the bullet cases, locators, and timers on the table, leaving the other half for us. The next time we meet, we will see each other through scopes. He waved and walked out of the restaurant. Kirigiri and I were speechless for a while, staring together at the bullets left on the table. A few days later, Kirigiri spread a small blanket on the concrete floor and crawled on it. She put a pillow in front of her, not for sleeping, but to put it under the gun to keep it steady. Although there are many kinds of tools to support guns, such as bipods, gun mounts, etc., after we have tried many kinds of tools, we found that the buckwheat husk pillow I usually use in the dorm room has the best stability and cushioning. Kirigiri likes using this pillow, and it also seems to help keep her emotions stable. There happens to be an old shooting range in 15 minutes walk from school to the mountains, so we decided to use it as a place for us to practice sniping. It seems to have been a shooting range for recruits during World War II, and was used as a skeet practice area after the war. But the skeet launcher stopped working years ago, and there were very few people visiting in a year. Also, it's not open in winter. However, after Kirigiri called the owner, they simply agreed to let us use the whole place. I don't know how she negotiated with the owner, but I think most of the problems were solved with money. The maximum distance from the firing spot to the target for indoor shooting is 200 meters. In our game with Johnny, we have to get the bullets to hit the target at least at that distance, otherwise we won't be able to win. I moved next to Kirigiri, crawling on the ground like her, looking forward with binoculars fixed on a tripod. The target we prepared is a frying pan with a diameter of 15 centimeters hanging on a stake. From a distance of 200 meters, only a small black spot can be seen. It's very windy today. I said as I pressed my hair next to my ear, which is being ruffled by the wind. Just right for training. Kirigiri said while fine-tuning the position of the sniper scope. Behind the mountains surrounding us, gray clouds are moving at high speed. The trees are rustling and shaking violently. The observer must watch the movement of nature and provide the sniper with the information to make a one-shot hit. Having said that, ultimately, we have to rely on devices. Offset 7 centimeters to the left. I told Kirigiri the value displayed on the calculator. Kirigiri calibrated the scope and fixed the stock to her shoulder. She cocked the gun with a push on the bolt pull handle. Beside her, I put the fluffy earmuffs on my ears, both for sound insulation and cold protection. Kirigiri held her breath. In an instant, her breath disappeared, as if her whole being has become one with nature. She should be feeling the wind and gravity with her whole body, concentrating all of her being on her trigger finger. Then, she pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out. I could also feel the shockwave hitting my whole body next to her. The next moment, the pan being used as a target flicked in the binoculars. I saw a circular bullet mark in the bottom of the pan. Hit. I called out. Kirigiri silently pulled the bolt handle and expelled the empty cartridge. The deviation is not as big as we thought. Indeed. I said as I checked the target. Maybe because the opposite side is by the mountain, so the wind could be relatively weak there. Try 2 centimeters to the right next. Roger. Kirigiri pushed the next bullet into the chamber. I looked into the binoculars. The task of the observer is not only to find the target and grasp the surrounding situation, but the most important task is to check the bullets fired by the sniper. Due to the reaction force of the gun, it is difficult for the sniper to observe the moment of the shot through the scope, so the observer must confirm it. Binoculars for observation, laser rangefinders, anemometers, night vision goggles for night, and so on. All the equipment that may be needed for sniping was bought online by Kirigiri. With these equipment, we have a tremendous advantage if we fight against a squad of irregulars who use AKs. Kirigiri said that, but I'm not quite sure how potent it really is. The question is whether it has any effect on Johnny Arp. Kirigiri fired 10 bullets without stopping in one breath, all of which hit the target. Her technique has definitely improved. You've caught up with the pros, Kirigiri-chan. This is still just amateur level. Kirigiri said as she supported herself. With this gun and these bullets, you can hit a target 300 meters away without a scope. WH 300 meters? Average soldiers who are not snipers are trained at about this distance. If they are snipers, it's common for them to hit a target from 800 meters away at the effective range of these bullets. 800? That far? Yes. At that range, you can be sure that Johnny Arp will hit us. That means we have to snipe from a farther distance, or we will be hit by him? We can't achieve longer shooting range than him, let alone sniping at the 800-meter level. This is not something that can be learned overnight. Long-range shots would be worth a try if we are playing a game where we only have to hit one shot out of 10. But it's too risky to try that with only 3 bullets. And then what should we do? Getting close enough to a place where you can snipe without being spotted by the opponent is as important to a sniper as their shooting skills. The minimum distance that we can shoot from is 200 meters. If we approach further, the locator will activate and expose our position to the other team. Which means that, if we can ensure that sniping from 200 meters away can accurately hit the target, then there is still a chance for us to win, right? That's right. Kirigiri nodded slightly. Then she sat with her legs outstretched and stared into the distance for a moment, as if she is trying to find her way back to herself that was lost in her overconcentration. Kirigiri-chan, are you tired? Rest for a while. I'm fine. No, if the game suddenly starts with you in this state, it will only make the results worse. I took out the thermos from my backpack, handed a cup to Kirigiri, and poured warm tea into the cup. I learned to make herbal tea. This is called lemon balm. It smells good, doesn't it? I heard it's very effective in stabilizing the mind. Thanks. Kirigiri held the cup and drank it while using it to warm her hands. Her tense brows began to relax a bit. We rested for a few minutes in the company of herbal tea. To onlookers, we should look no different from all those girls chatting on campus. Next to the sniper rifle, we spent a period of time like a picnic in the countryside at a shooting range where empty bullet cartridges are scattered everywhere. This is our youth. Then we fired a few more shots, and as the sun started to set in the west, we decided to go back. Putting the gun in the sling case and hanging it over my shoulder, Kirigiri and I walked side by side down the gentle slope, passing several students who had just finished their club activities along the way. It's like we've just finished our club activities. Shooting club? Kirigiri looked up at me and said, to be precise, it should be the detective club, right? Oh right, should we apply to the school to recruit club members? Detectives can't do this so openly. Kirigiri said with a cute wrinkle between her brows. In the future, information will determine everything, and promotional campaigns can't be ignored. The Kirigiri family doesn't adopt this way of working at all. Even registering in the detective library must be avoided as much as possible. The person who asked her to register at the detective library must have been Shinsen disguised as her grandfather. In principle, the detectives of the Kirigiri family, who hardly ever conduct public activities, have made a record of their activities public, which is unprecedented. But even so, Kirigiri hasn't written off her name from the detective library, and it seems that she has her own reasons for it. I'm just using it to make a name for myself. This is what she said, but at the end of the day, I still can't figure out whether she doesn't want her name to be known, or whether she wants her name to be known by more people. All in all, she seems to be working towards her rank 0 goal. That said, before now, I went to update my detective library card, and the number changed from 887 to 886. On the one hand, I thought something must have gone wrong if even an incompetent detective like me got a 6. On the other hand, thinking about what happened with Ryuzoji Geka the other day, I thought it was normal for the number to decrease a little. I checked my file, and the Lieber Girls Academy case was listed as one that I solved. The other cases were each recorded in the files of the detectives who were directly involved in the cases. Incidentally, Kirigiri jumped over a rank from 917 to 915. The files also included her solving the Takeda Haunted Mansion and the Twins Ability Development Institute cases. Numerically speaking, Kirigiri has finally overtaken me, but it's only natural, and I'm happy for her. With a rank of 5, this number is already enough to make her peers treat her differently. But I think Kirigiri's strength doesn't end there. She is also not that far from the glorious 0. We reached the dormitory when the row of streetlights outside the school walls came on. I entered my dorm room with Kirigiri. Kirigiri started living in my dorm room a few days ago. When she first arrived in the dormitory, the unfamiliar dormitory life made her quite confused. However, it wasn't because she was wary or nervous. It was more like a noble princess who had mistakenly entered the life of the common people. When I think about it, she was originally born in a family with servants, and has been living in various hotels since she gained consciousness. So even if she can adapt to living in an unfamiliar place, it must be difficult for her to get used to the humble environment. No matter what, I couldn't let the little princess sleep on the floor, so I gave her the bed to sleep on. From that day on, the futon on the floor became my sleeping space. But sometimes I would lie down on the bed when I'm tired, and occasionally wake up to find me sleeping next to Kirigiri, and she hasn't complained about that. She quickly got used to this kind of commoner life, and soon began to try cleaning and doing laundry by herself. As for cooking, she only had surface-level knowledge from textbooks, but when she actually tried cooking, she got very skilled, and the dishes she makes now taste good. If my sister was still alive, maybe we would have lived an ordinary life like this. However, I immediately dismissed this idea. My sister will never come back, and the girl in front of me is not my sister, but Kirigiri Kyoko. Moreover, we are still in the middle of a battle that is far from ordinary. A few days later. Kirigiri-chan, Johnny Arp taught you how to use a gun before, didn't he? What was it like at that time? Was he like this before? I asked Kirigiri while lying on my back in the room, staring at the ceiling with the binoculars that I grew to use. Kirigiri is next to me, in a crawling firing position, with the muzzle of the gun pointing at a crow sticker on the wall. Not loaded, aiming at the target, pulling the trigger like the live fire training, and repeating this process over and over again. It is an indispensable part of training if you want to improve your sniping skills. Well, I didn't have a bad impression. He taught me about guns from scratch, and he explained it very meticulously. Shing. The sound of the blank shot told me she pulled the trigger. That man is not hostile to us, nor has he sworn allegiance to the committee, so why do we have to fight him? Because it's fun, I guess. You can understand that? I held the binoculars onto my eyes and turned over towards Kirigiri. Her out-of-focus blurry figure is appearing in the binoculars. Can understand, but can't accept. He said, if you're not happy, then you aren't obliged to be a detective, but detectives have to do it even if they're not happy, don't they? Who knows? Shing. There is no point in asking her whether she is happy or not, whether she wants to be a detective or not. It's not for this reason she became a detective. She was just born on the battlefield and fought all the way until now. That's Kirigiri Kyoko. But that Johnny Arp guy, I can't have any respect for him as a detective, but he is more approachable compared to Shinsen Mikado and Ryuzoji Geka, don't you think? And if you only look at his appearance, he is quite cool. Yui-1-sama. Kirigiri raised her head a little and turned to me. If you think he can become our partner like Liko at that time, then I advise you to give up this idea. And no way, I didn't think so. Is that so? If he hasn't come up with this idea, we wouldn't have to play this game in the first place. What a nuisance. Yes. But if they show their true skills, they can deal with us whenever and however they want, yet despite this, they offer to play against us with specially made rules. From this point of view, I guess we can call this fair. Letting a middle school girl play with them with a 4-kilogram gun is fair? Even a middle school girl can become a sniper in just 10 days. That only applies to you. I said and chuckled a bit. But her skills as a sniper have begun to emerge. With her current skills, she is basically able to reliably hit from 200 meters away. The fact that she was able to grow to this level in just 10 days is naturally because of her intelligence, but it is also because of her constant efforts. Apart from when she is in school, she keeps the gun in her hand every day, even when she is sleeping. This made me realize again that she was undoubtedly born a genius, but at the same time, she is also an unrelenting, single-minded girl who works hard towards her goals. I have tried to learn as much as I can about sniping so that I wouldn't be a drag on her. Of course, I now know enough about how guns work to be considered the most sniper-savvy high school girl. I wonder if Shinsen knows about this game. Since the stage of the game is the black challenge, I think it's impossible for him not to know. So you know about this and gonna go along with it? Yes. Team Johnny said that they have nothing to do with the committee, but the committee may have grasped their movements and are secretly planning something. I knew this would be the case. I knew it isn't going to end up being just a game, but if Shinsen is involved, it could be worse than I imagined. I wonder if I will be able to go back to this place with Kirigiri this time. Hey, Kirigiri-chan, this is just an assumption, but if Shinsen told you to give up the Kirigiri name, would you do it? What does that mean? She asked in a sharp tone. No, it's just a wild theory of mine. You don't have to take it to heart, but I was wondering if Shinsen might be trying to claim the Kirigiri family name. This is not so much my theory as it is that of someone who has past experience with Shinsen. However, that man wouldn't let me tell anyone about me meeting with him, so I can't tell Kirigiri. It would be interesting to know how you came up with this thought. Why, you see, Shinsen is obviously targeting you. It feels like he has a strong obsession with being a detective. Since he already has obtained 000 in the detective library, his next goal could be the glorious name of Kirigiri. He wants to kill me and take away the name? Exactly. I'm not sure if he actually intends to kill you. Maybe he just wants to force you, the detective, to admit defeat and then only take away the Kirigiri name. For example, there is a kind of competitions in world sports for titles or medals. And the detective trade isn't different, right? Shinsen got a taste of it after quickly topping the detective library that has over 60,000 registered, and he liked the feeling of being a detective standing at the top looking down on everyone else. That's an interesting line of reasoning. I never thought of that. Ching. Even now, her trigger finger hasn't stopped. I put down the binoculars and looked at the side of her face with the gun. Her focused expression before the firing is clear and pretty. So Shinsen, he might ask you to give up the Kirigiri family name in the end, that's what I thought. Then Shinsen would claim to be a Kirigiri, right? Yep. Yui-1-sama. Ching. After pulling the trigger, she put down the gun and slowly pivoted her body. You seem to have a lot of misunderstandings, so I'll make it clear to you in advance. First of all, the Kirigiri name is not as valuable as Yui-1-sama thinks. But don't you guys inherit the detective career from generation to generation? Yes, that's a fact, and I'm proud to be a detective of the Kirigiri family. But by the nature of our work, we mostly act with a hidden identity, and the name Kirigiri is never made public. In other words, this name is not well known, it is not worth fighting for it, and even if the name is snatched, that wouldn't mean anything. But it may be different for Shinsen. Also as a detective, he might think the name Kirigiri is very valuable, or maybe he wants to get a sense of pride from it, so to speak. I see no reason for Shinsen to be so obsessed with the Kirigiri name. Or maybe Yui-1-sama has something in mind? Kirigiri looked at me with her usual cold eyes. No, not really. Yui-1-sama, your reasoning feels like it can only come from someone who thinks that the Kirigiri name is very important. Could it be? Kirigiri stared into my eyes and whispered. I somewhat understand now what it feels like to be a criminal being chased by her. I don't feel like I can escape from her piercing gaze. Never mind. She said coldly and looked away. It's not easy to hide something from her. However, she also hid from me that her home has been taken over by Shinsen and her maternal grandfather was murdered, pretending like nothing happened. I also hid the fact that I already know about all that. It would be easier if I just tell her. If we are close friends, if we are partners, or if we are a family, maybe we would have already told each other these hidden things. But we are detectives. It's like God is testing us to see if we can swallow each other's secrets and still trust each other. If he wants the Kirigiri name, I'll give it to him. Even after that, no one can deny that I'm a detective. Kirigiri-chan, I'm relieved to hear you say that. I said, still lying down without getting up and rolling a few times in her direction. Then, let's take a bath together. You won't do anything weird? Oh, of course not. Why are you panicking? That's suspicious. February 2nd. We must rely on this thin paper to deduce the case and prevent the crimes from happening. Also, we can't get close to the scene yet. We can only fire bullets from a distance to sabotage the criminal's plan. The weather forecast said there will be snow tonight. Let's go, Yui-1-sama. Kirigiri put on the white coat to act as camouflage. Present, 7:15 a.m. And just like that, we successfully defeated Johnny Arp in the first sniper battle. Even if this is going according to their script, a victory is still a victory. After the winner was decided, we walked down the hill to Whiterun Mountain Villa. Even if the criminal's method had been sabotaged, it is difficult to say whether they will use other methods to kill the target or not. In terms of the rules, we win the game between us and Johnny as long as the murder case predicted in the challenge letter falls into an unachievable state, but for the criminal, that doesn't matter. The black challenge is about their life, and they may be desperate to try to get their revenge. We approached the building while keeping an eye on the locator. After entering the 200-meter circle, the locator still did not go off. I glanced at the back door of the building, and there is a trail that separates the snow on two sides and extends towards the hillside, a trail left by a snowmobile. Speaking of which, I think I heard the sound of an engine back then, so I guess that was it. It looks like Johnny and Liko have left this place. We went around to the front of the building. There, several snowmobile trails were left on the snow. Could it be? Kirigiri murmured in a stunned expression. We knocked on the door of the entrance of the villa. A woman came out. Who are you? The woman looked confused. We told her we are detectives and explained to her that things are going to happen according to the foretelling. Although you came here specially, I don't think anything will happen, because the rescue team has already arrived. Rescue team? Yeah, a rescue team came over on snowmobiles just now and took away the man in the red ski jacket. They said they would take us out one by one in order. But shouldn't it be ladies first at times like this? The woman said helplessly. Kirigiri and I looked at each other. It's the committee. Why would someone from the committee come? I tilted my head. Who exactly did they take away? The perpetrator, of course. In other words, the detective successfully identified the criminal? So far, the perpetrators who were identified by Kirigiri were always taken away by the committee's members without being realizing. However, when we asked Detective Suzuyari about the situation, according to him, not only did he not identify the perpetrator, but none of the murders even happened. It seems that the game had an impact on the case. Kirigiri said. In other words, the result of the sniper battle is directly reflected in the success of the Black Challenge. If we win, then the perpetrator will end up being accused by the detective. We can't tell whether this arrangement was based on Johnny's instructions or the committee's discretion. After the game is over, it would be convenient for us not to have to deal with the aftermath, but I feel sorry for the criminal who lost the game for no apparent reason. He decided to murder, so he would be judged by the committee even though he wasn't able to put his plan into action. Did we do the right thing? On the other hand, I feel terrible thinking about what would have happened if Team Johnny won. Let's get a victory next time too and have this game end as soon as possible, Yui-Wansama. Yeah. It's not like it's a game we can't win. As long as we take the next round, we will win. We then can have Johnny Arp retire early. The black envelope announcing the start of the next battle arrived 3 days later. Just like last time, I checked the mailbox before I went to class. There was an envelope in it with no stamp and no recipient. I could only guess that someone sneaked into the girls' dormitory and dropped it directly in the mailbox. Was it a member of the committee? This means they most likely have grasped Kirigiri Kyoko's current location. Yet they haven't made a move on her. Is it because it's against the rules of the game? Kirigiri was still lying on the bed in a daze. I showed her the envelope, and she slowly got up, brushed her teeth and changed her clothes with tousled hair. It took her a while to fully wake up. After she took a sip of the coffee on the table, she finally read the contents of the letter. They bought a lot. Even Kirigiri couldn't help being a little overwhelmed. Maybe they had these techniques on sale. I sat down on the bed, combed Kirigiri's hair who was sitting on the ground, and braided it into 3 strands. It's a little more generous with time compared to the last one, but this challenge letter is making my head spin just by looking at it. I braided her hair and tied it with ribbons. These ribbons determine the fate of this contest, so I was very careful in tying it firmly. With so many techniques chosen, what kind of case will it be? I can't imagine it at all. Is that so? Kirigiri said, holding the rifle in her arms. Imagining is not difficult in itself, rather a little too easy, so easy that people start doubting bluffs and misdirections. Easy? Yes, if we say 1 technique for each victim, that means 9 techniques in total for 9 victims, plus the detective, making it 10 people. When talking about 10 people on one island, only and then there were none comes to mind. Ah. Agatha Christie's masterpiece, The Basis of Locked Room Mysteries. In the Sirius Observatory case where Kirigiri and I met, the host also used a pseudonym derived from the character UN Owen. The Katashiro in the name of the island refers to the Yorishiro. Generally, in Shinto shrines, Yorishiro Katashiro are made by cutting washi paper into human figures. So I think Katashiro Island will be prepared in advance to represent the 10 visitors with 10 Katashiros, and every time one person is killed, 1 Katashiro disappears. I see. This is indeed and then there were none. However, if the crime is committed by imitating the plot of the novel, it will be detected by the detective immediately, so the crime technique will naturally be changed according to the style of the committee. So, how about shooting the Katashiro to make it unusable before the crime happens? 10 Katashiro has to be prepared for 10 people. If there are fewer before the crime, it will definitely make the perpetrator feel uneasy, won't it? The perpetrator may feel uneasy, but they should be able to recover quickly. They only need to cut out paper into Katashiros again. Right. To stop the crime, we can only make a key element of it irreparable by the perpetrator. It's safer to destroy the murder weapon like last time, but this time, the knife or the poison container may not necessarily be placed in a place where we can snipe it. Kirigiri removed the bolt of the rifle and looked inside the chamber carefully. To maintain the shooting accuracy, daily maintenance of firearms is essential. A way to save 10 people with 1 bullet. I folded my arms and muttered. Ah, that's right. What did you think of, Yui-Wansama? Hey, Kirigiri-chan, do you know the story of the hunter of 100 shots? I don't. Once upon a time, there was a hunter who can shoot 100 shots perfectly. The hunter saw 10 sparrows resting on a power line, so he aimed his gun and fired 3 bullets. Now, how many sparrows did the hunter shoot down? Wait, this story doesn't make sense. Kirigiri said with a serious expression. Usually hunters don't hunt sparrows. No, that's not the point. It doesn't matter if they're crows, pheasants, or something else, as long as they're birds that can fly. Oh, and I know you like to get nitpicky on the details, so I'll add in advance. The hunter's gun is a bolt-action rifle. The answer should be 1. Because after the first shot, the other 9 sparrows would fly away. Yes, now, what I want to say is, do you think we can refer to this story? What do you mean? Think about those people on the island. If a gunfire suddenly came from nowhere, and there was a bullet hole in the wall, they would normally flee from that place, right? At least the place would be in disarray. In this case, wouldn't the criminal's plan be ruined? So, we don't really need to snipe anything. As long as we fire a few shots at random, won't that prevent the incident from happening? We can't be sure about that. Kirigiri shook her head slowly. This time the stage is on an island. Those targeted have nowhere to escape, and the perpetrator should have expected them to fall in disarray. True. After all, it's a murder plan on an isolated island. The plan could be built on the premise that everyone will fall into disarray. No, it definitely is. Ah, but if we think about it more, the list of techniques is long this time, we really don't have to deal with all of them? Because, you see, as long as one of the techniques is sabotaged and becomes impossible to complete, it should be possible to stop the black challenge at that step like last time. I doubt it will be that convenient. We have no way of knowing when and at what point the committee will decide to abort the case. Even if we succeed in sabotaging one of the techniques, what if that technique was supposed to be used to kill the 4th victim? We might have to watch the first 3 get killed, and only then the black challenge will be aborted at the 4th. In that case, we will leave the first 3 to die. I see. Even if we win the game, as long as there is a victim, then we, as detectives, also lose. Should we be prepared to sacrifice a few people and concentrate on preventing only one of these techniques from being carried out? Or should we risk losing the game and find a way to prevent everyone from being harmed? Of course I would choose the latter. Kirigiri should have the same determination as me. First of all, we have to find the Katashiro Island. Kirigiri said. If we don't know the terrain, you can't make a battle plan. I used the computer in the information processing room to check and quickly found the location of Katashiro Island. It's one of the uninhabited islands around the Sanriku shoreline off Tohoku. There was a shrine on the island more than 1,000 years ago, where people often prayed for safe fishing and sailing. It seems to be very famous. The official name of this island is Hiroshima, which is indeed a very ordinary name, but the local name Katashiro Island is more popular. T Hiroshima. If we take the Shinkansen, we can get there in 2 hours. Shinkansen. We got on the train at the nearest station with the gun case on our back. By the time we arrived at the harbor town, it's already past 6 p.m. and it's dark all around, except for the orange night light in the center of the roundabout in front of the station, which is still glowing dimly. This place is quite famous as a tourist spot, but it seems that it is only lively when the sun isn't set. I turned my eyes to the direction of the ocean, and there was nothing but darkness and the sound of the waves. Since boats don't go out to the ocean after dark, we stayed at a nearby ryokan and decided to wait there until dawn. From the open window of Thuashitsu, we can see the lights of the city along the coast in the distance. Thuashitsuka Yukadiscome in 2 colors. The dinner menu is mainly seafood. How wonderful. Even though the case is about to happen, I can't help but feel excited. It's as if the 2 of us are on a school trip alone. I heard that there is an open-air bath here, so we decided to take a bath together. We were the only 2 people in the spacious open-air bath. Of course, I was planning to do all the fun things I could think of, like swimming or having a water fight with Kirigiri, but when I saw the purple bruise on Kirigiri's right shoulder soaked in hot water, my tourist mood suddenly vanished along with the water vapor. Kirigiri-chan, that. I'm fine. She covered the bruise with her hands. There was no such bruise when I went to the public bath with her before. It must be left over from the training in the past few days. When sniping, you have to hold the gun in place with your right shoulder against the stock, and that area needs to withstand the impact of the shot. Even if you don't shoot, repeatedly practicing the shoulder position will leave bruises on fair skin. I couldn't say anything else about this bruise. There is very little I can do for her, so I just wiped her wet hair with as gentle a motion as possible after the bath. Then we turned off the lights in the room and started talking in whispers. Of course, it's not a secret conversation between adolescent girls, but a case investigation meeting. Last time we didn't have time to get ahead of them. We should be able to this time, right? The timer hasn't started yet. It's not that simple. Kirigiri said with a soft exhale. Since we made it here easily, we should assume that they have already arrived. That's true, but... And this time we seem to be at a disadvantage geographically. Kirigiri turned on the lamp beside the pillow and spread out a bird's eye view of Katashiro Island. The island is located about 3 kilometers east of the harbor. The area is not too large. The length east-west direction is about 500 meters, and the width north-south direction is about 700 meters. The shrine and the mansion connected to it are almost in the center. The elevation is the highest there. That building could become a stronghold on a high ground. In other words, the enemy will occupy the high ground, which is exactly the opposite of the previous situation. There are not many plants that grow naturally on that island. They are all shrubs, and there is almost no place to hide. The center of the island is only 350 meters away from the farthest shoreline. With Johnny Arp's marksmanship, it's safe to say that the entire island is within his range. This is a real problem. What should we do, Kirigiri-chan? Well, Kirigiri was unable to give an answer right away. We haven't been able to decide what exactly to set as the sniping target yet. How about we go to the island and occupy the high ground before the case happens? I said as I thought about it. If we do that, we can smash all the things that may be used in the crime techniques one by one. This is impossible. Why? I think they are already on the island. No way. We also came here as fast as possible. If you think there's no way, then it did happen because of who they are. She is right. For a duo of 000 rank, we should prepare for the worst at all times. It's not outlandish to think they can simply fly with a jet to here from a US military base. And they are already in the best sniping position, waiting for us to get to the island. This time they will show their true skills to win. There's literally nothing we can do. I laid on my back and looked up at the ceiling. That's not exactly true. Kirigiri's reassuring words made me involuntarily sit up. HM, do you have any clever tricks? There are 2 ways. 2. The first way is not a way to win in the sniper battle, but a way to prevent the case from happening. The other is a last resort when the first way fails. What are they? Tell me. The first one is stopping all the people going to Katashiro Island at the harbor. We detain all the characters in the case before they move to the scene of the crime. I see, a coastal defense battle. We are staying in this harbor. And whenever we find someone planning to go to the island, we convince and stop them. If they don't listen to the advice, we will detain them with forceful means. We don't have to stop everyone. It's okay to detain a few of them and let them stay in this hotel for the time being. How will the sniper battle develop in this situation? If nothing happens when the deadline comes, it should conclude with us successfully preventing the incident. But I don't think they will just sit still. They will come to snipe you, Kirigiri-chan? Yes, there's no mistake about that. Last time we were the attackers, but this time the situation has changed. We may become the defenders. Team Johnny will come to fight for those who must go to the island in order to keep the event going as planned. But Kirigiri-chan, you just have to hide and you won't be hit by the enemy, right? Since there is no need to snipe, there is no need to show yourself on purpose. In other words, there is no need to give the enemy a chance to counter-snipe. This battle plan has a better chance of winning than last time, right? We will definitely win this time. Let's hope so. What else is there to worry about? If Johnny Arp gives up sniping and attacks us directly, we alone won't match him in any way. That won't happen. How could a person who is so obsessed with sniping give that up? It's like destroying his own game. I thought so too. But that's just our impression of him. Logically, this possibility cannot be denied. You're just overthinking. Then again, there's the question of whether we can actually stop those who intend to go to the island. Will it be difficult to convince them? That's not what I mean. There is no conclusive evidence that they will appear in this harbor. But the nearest harbor to that island is here, right? Even if it takes some detours, as long as there is a boat, you can go to the island from other harbors. Ah, that's right. They might also take a helicopter. True, considering previous cases, the criminal could even make everyone unconscious and move them to the island. That's another possibility. What if the coastal defense battle fails? Then we can only use the second option, which is our last resort. Kirigiri said expressionlessly. Sniping Johnny Arp. Can we do it? Yes, but I don't plan to kill him. I'm not an assassin, I'm just a detective. So, I'll aim at his gun. Even if you break his gun, he will still have several spares, right? Yes, but there are only 3 bullets. I will snipe him when he loads the 3rd red bullet and break the gun. The opponent will run out of ammunition and the game will be over. Ah, so that's one way to do it. I couldn't help shouting. Ah, wait, if that's the case, then there's no need to wait until the 3rd shot. You just need to hit his magazine from the beginning, right? He won't necessarily put all the bullets in one magazine. Good point. If it's a bolt-action rifle, it is not uncommon for each bullet to be directly pushed into the chamber. Or he may also put the green and yellow bullets into the magazine, and finally manually load the red bullet. This means the red bullet doesn't necessarily have to be in the magazine. Sure enough, for the red bullet to go off, we must observe the moment when it is loaded. This means we are going to at least get Johnny to fire the green and yellow bullets. We would have to deal with 2 bullets fired at us by a first-class sniper. Is this really possible? I'll start from the beginning. Kirigiri drew on the map with a ballpoint pen. She drew the figures of 2 ships at sea. First, we prepare 2 boats. We will act separately. I will sit on one of the boats, and Yui-Wan-sama will take the other one. Yuyona-sama will approach from the west side of the island. I will move in a large circle and approach from the south, then Yuyona-sama will proceed alone to the island first. I'll be alone? That makes me. That's right, a decoy. Thought so. Your mission, Yui-Wan-sama, is to let Johnny Arp use up the first green bullet. At least you have to bait one. That'll kill me. Don't worry, you don't need to use your body to bait the bullet. I will set up Yui-Wan-sama's boat in advance to look as if I'm hiding on it. Putting cloth on top of something and let it bulge up, just that will do. And, in order to prevent the wind from blowing the cloth up, we will have to tie it to the boat with a rope. This way, Johnny Arp will surely shoot the rope with a bullet to uncover the cloth first. What a meticulous maneuver, but assume he does that. Then, what should I do next? After they find out that Yui-Wan-sama's boat is a decoy, I will reach the island by this point with the other boat. In order to avoid being sniped, I will cover it with cloth beforehand to hide. From the other side's position, they won't be able to tell if what's under the cloth is another decoy or a real person. Okay. The average person would think that this might be a decoy and won't easily use the second bullet. But if it's him, he would definitely shoot without hesitation. I think so too, it's easy to imagine. Johnny said that the number of bullets that can be used increased to 3, which was for our sake. That is, he thinks that he only needs 1 bullet. To him, the first and second rounds are like extras and he will not hesitate to use them. This time we will succeed in getting him to use the second bullet. But after the cloth is uncovered, Kirigiri-chan, you will be completely exposed, right? Yes, after Johnny finds me, he will load the third red bullet. The process of discharging the cartridge to loading the bullet to retargeting is probably less than a second, and that second will be our opportunity. You said opportunity, but you will be on the boat, correct? Yes, of course, the rifle will already be set up. You are going to counter-snipe Johnny's rifle in the second gap on a swaying ship, is this what you mean? That's right. Kirigiri said without concern. What do you think of this strategy? What do I think really? I am utterly amazed at her guts. Of course I believe in you. I won't let you down. Kirigiri had a slightly happy expression on her face. It's good to be enthusiastic, but this is only the last resort. I hope we won't need to use the gun this time. First, let's try preventing everyone from reaching the island. Let's go to the harbor before dawn, and be there to stake out the area so that we won't miss whoever comes at whatever time. This will probably be a long battle. A stakeout, huh? I've never had this kind of experience before. Yes, do you want to prepare sandwiches and coffee? Not tan pan and milk? Western style? Kidding. Kirigiri said, crawling under the covers. I'm going to bed. It's better if you go to bed early too, Yui-Wan-sama. Oh, yeah. I almost never hear her joke, so I was taken aback. Anyway. I looked up at the ceiling of the Ryokan and thought. Is there any flaw in this strategy? And besides that, will this strategy really work? I thought in a daze, and fell asleep without realizing. It's not quite dawn yet when we have already changed our clothes and went out the door. Last night, it was too dark to see the archipelago on the ocean. Now the silhouettes of these islands are reflected in the twilight of the sunrise on the ocean. This beautiful scenery is indeed a tourist destination. We walked along the concrete berm. Cold air swept by, a sea breeze of 7 meters per second. If the bullet encountered lateral wind, the deviation degree would be quite large. The exact value depends on the distance to the target, but it is necessary to consider a deviation degree of about 5 meters. I looked at the timer in my hand. 163 hours left. While we were sleeping, the timer announcing the opening of the black challenge envelope began to count down. By counting backwards, it seems that the detective opened the envelope exactly at midnight. I wonder if detective in charge this time has experienced the black challenge before. They deliberately opened the envelope at midnight to keep track of the deadline. Speaking of which, we had deliberately adjusted the time before, choosing to open the envelope at exactly noon. This kind of thing would not be thought by an inexperienced person. It has finally started. The second game of Shoot Down the Angel kicked off. Come on, Kirigiri-chan, let's take it out. I said loudly so as not to lose to the sea breeze. At that time, without any warning, there was a sound of air being cut through. One end of the ribbon that is tied to the right side of Kirigiri got shredded as if burned by something invisible. A small piece of the damaged ribbon fluttered lightly in the wind and landed on the waves. 1 moment later, the sound of gunfire like distant thunder could be heard. Kirigiri and I completely stiffened, frozen in place as we watched the piece of ribbon gradually disappearing into the waves. Ha! I finally regained awareness and quickly looked in the direction of Katashiro with my binoculars. This must be fake. Absolutely unbelievable. In the binoculars, the island is only a small silhouette. The rangefinder can't calculate the distance. Which is very reasonable. Because the distance between it and us is more than 3,000 meters. We were careless. Kirigiri untied the remaining piece of ribbon from her hair and checked the damage. The damaged part of the ribbon was cut into an arch, which is the mark of a bullet cutting through. Considering the direction the bullet was fired from, there's no mistake that they are on Katashiro Island now. It's hard to believe, but this is a world record class ultra long range sniping. Kirigiri's words were almost a praise. No matter how good the conditions are, sniping at 2,000 meters is difficult unless you have luck on your side. A stationary target is one thing, but for a moving target, uncertainty interferes with calculations even more. And shooting through a ribbon that is swaying in the wind is close to a miracle. The phone rang, and the screen showed an unknown caller. Hello. Yui-san? It's me. Liko's voice. Looks like we won the second game. You two have worked hard. See you in the next final game. We won't lose. Bye. Wait a minute, I tried to stop him but the call was quickly hung up. Is it over? I whispered in dismay. The result of this round was completely one-sided. The enemy didn't care what strategy we had formulated, and concentrated a lot of power on one point to force a breakthrough. They often say that a sniper can change the tide of battle with a single bullet, and it seems that we were able to witness that power. Johnny Arp is using the same bullets as us, isn't he? Is it possible to use a 7.62mm bullet to snipe over 3,000 meters? I still couldn't accept what happened in front of me. Yes, I think it's unbelievable too, so I was negligent and careless. The effective range of 7.62mm is about 800 meters, but ignoring the accuracy and destructive power, the maximum range is 4,000 meters. Unbelievable, but not impossible. I shouldn't have let my guard down. Once again, I realized how out of the ordinary our opponent is. That is to say, the opponent's range is also at 000 rank. Yui-1-sama, now is not the time to be discouraged. Let's hurry up to Katashiro Island. Eh? Why? The game is over. It suddenly occurred to me. In the last Black Challenge, the event was forcibly interrupted because the result of the sniper battle was already decided. And this time after our defeat, how will the event be handled? I have a bad feeling. Kirigiri said with a pale face. I'm feeling it too. Since we negotiated in advance yesterday, we quickly borrowed a fishing boat. Kirigiri knows how to drive a boat too, but this time she entrusted that task to the captain of the fishing boat, and we hurried all the way to the island. The fishing boat rode the wind and waves, and the island that originally was only a black spot in our field of vision gradually grew larger. The island is shaped like an upside-down bowl, and a Japanese-style mansion can be seen at the highest point. The boat finally arrived at Katashiro Island. The boat stopped at a small pier paved with concrete, and we set foot on land. We ran all the way from the pier to the center of the island. There is a gentle ramp under our feet, and a small torii gate every few meters. I looked up and saw a large mansion behind the torii gates. A little short of the mansion, Kirigiri came to a halt. There is a person lying beside the torii. The person is looking like he is going back down the road from the top. He is lying prone on the ground, and since his face is not turned around, I can't see what he looks like. But he should be a male. He is wearing jeans and a white tennis shirt, no jacket, only short sleeves, which feels a little out of place for this season. Are you okay? I said as I ran over to him. The moment I got close to him, I felt the smell of blood. Kirigiri also noticed something strange, so she squatted down beside the man, touched his neck, and shook her head. It appears the man is dead. He wasn't dead for long. Kirigiri stood up and walked around to the opposite side, intending to check the man's face. She looked down at the man's face, and was suddenly speechless as she narrowed her eyes. What's wrong? He isn't someone you know, is he? I probed. Wait, it's best not to look at. It's too late. At first glance, the man's face looked like he is wearing a red mask of flat plate, with no undulations, a circle along the contour of his face. But it's not a mask. The face is gone. His face was cut out. It's not that I haven't witnessed a body that was brutally murdered so far, but this time the mental shock is too great. A person who have lost the most human part of themselves, which became more like a damaged mannequin than a body, added a bit extra horror. Kirigiri was also taken aback at first, but she quickly began to perform her detective duties and investigated the body. There is nothing on the body, it almost feels unnatural. The pockets are completely empty, and there are no ornaments like a watch or a ring. Did the murderer take it? Who knows? We didn't find anything that could identify the body, as if his identity was taken away by the murderer just like his face. Anyway, let's take a look inside the mansion first. Kirigiri walked in front on the road, and I followed behind her, pressing on my stinging temple. A Japanese-style mansion that looks like it was converted from a shrine hall appeared ahead of us. At this point, we couldn't help but hold another breath. A person is lying down in front of the sliding door of the entrance. And that person is exactly the same as the body we saw just now, which almost makes me wonder if this is a hallucination. He is wearing jeans and a white tennis shirt, lying prone on the ground, and both are about the same height and build. And thought flashed in my mind, I approached him to check, and found that his face was cut out just like the previous one. Afterwards, we explored the mansion and found 7 other bodies. No matter which body it's, they are exactly the same. It almost makes me suspect that they are all replicas. Jeans, white tennis shirts, and cut-out faces, with no clues to their identities. It's hard to even tell if they are different people from the ones outside. 9 identical bodies. It's the first time I have ever encountered such an unusual case. Kirigiri and I fled the mansion and the blood-smelling air to breath in the fresh ocean breeze outside for a while. It's only been about 6 hours since the challenge letter was opened. I don't know if this happened because we lost the sniper battle with Johnny, or if it was planned from the beginning. But all bodies appear to have been killed within hours to minutes, no doubt about that. There is no one else on the island except the 9 bodies. The locator didn't go off either. Team Johnny must have left the island. Perhaps it was wrong to think that this case is imitating, and then there were none. Kirigiri was a little frustrated. No wonder, this is such a creepy and inexplicable case. What should we do, Kirigiri-chan? I think the murderer is no longer on this island. For the time being, let's check every nook and cranny of the island. Maybe the murderer is still hiding somewhere. Hey, wait a seek. Suddenly from nowhere came a female voice. I followed the sound and saw a woman in a suit and short skirt climbing up the ramp with the torii gate. She was wearing a white coat over her suit for some reason. I heard from the old man on the fishing boat, so the young detective duo he was talking about are you? The woman said in a loud voice that dominated the sound of wind. With a look of anger, she walked to us aggressively. With her rimless glasses, slender eyes, long hair in a bun, and a white lab coat on her body, she gave the impression of a science woman who fits in well in a lab. You are. Oomph. She has something like an access card tied with a strap around her neck. She held it and showed it to us. It's the registration card for the detective library. Her name is Saiko Ayako. Number 950. Amazing, it's a number 0, and the 9 at the beginning indicates specialty in murder cases, so she is a senior of Kirigiri. You're the one who was playing the detective in this black challenge. That's right. Saiko showed a sarcastic smile and poked my chest with her index finger. What are you doing? I really want to make a hole here, said Saiko. Just so you know, this is my case, so can you not stealing it away from me? Stealing it. I waved my hands to deny. We don't mean to do that. It doesn't matter what you girls mean to do, you are now at my crime scene, playing with my corpses. What you are doing is stealing, understand? It doesn't matter who solves the CA. It does, said Saiko, interrupting Kirigiri's words, poking her fingers hard on her chest. If the case isn't solved by me, I won't get the points. Points? I asked. The detective library rank, how can you get to 000 rank without relying on the score for solving cases? I'll become a 000 rank before I hit 40, so that those men who look down on me before will see me properly. And then I'll find a millionaire to marry. If that's the case, we can also help you solve the case together. I said I don't need it. Saiko poked my chest with her finger as she said that. It felt like she was about to pierce through it. I even wondered if she has a special obsession with poking people with her fingers. You understood, we won't bother you. I distanced myself from Saiko and called Kirigiri over. Hey Kirigiri-chan, although this case is very interesting, let's leave it to this person to handle it. After all, she is a 0 rank, so things should be fine, right? Yes. Surprisingly, Kirigiri gave up quite easily. As long as this person can solve the case. Hey, I can hear you. Saiko interjected. You think you're some big shots even though you two are small detectives? Hey, you think you're big shots? Sorry, we'll leave right away. The faster you go, the better. Isn't there another case waiting for you? Saiko said with her arms crossed. Do you know us? I don't know you, and I don't want to know you, but I can deduce that you must be in some kind of trouble. You have a gun in that box, don't you? I heard a gunshot just now, but this case has nothing to do with guns, which means you're using the black challenge that has nothing to do with you as a stage to participate in activities that are similar to survival competitions, correct? Ah, don't answer that. Just do what you have to. I'll do the same. Can we leave this case to you? Where is this coming from? This case is mine to begin with, and you don't need to take any responsibility. This is my case, and you girls are annoying, so go away. Psycho made a gesture to drive us away. There is still a lot to worry about, but there is nothing more we can do here. Let's go, Kirigiri-chan. I took her hand. Kirigiri silently followed behind me. Then we will trouble you with the rest. I bowed and left the place. Afterwards, we took the fishing boat back to the mainland and immediately got on the train. We barely talked in the train. I didn't know what else to say after our opponents showed us their overwhelming strength, and we couldn't figure out how we could defeat them. Kirigiri squinted her eyes and kept looking out of the train window. Speaking of which, why do we need to fight Johnny? If we just concede defeat quickly, won't they be satisfied and retire? I don't think things will end so easily. Next up is the third and final game. It will definitely be a fierce competition beyond imagination. 1. After returning to the dormitory, we did not care about rest and went to the shooting range immediately. The time given to us by Psycho must be utilized as much as possible. What naturally drove our feet to the shooting range was not so much a sense of motivation as it was a sense of restlessness. We know very well that we have no chance of winning this contest. Granted, if we give up this fight, we might die. Maybe Johnny's ultimate goal is to hit Kirigiri Kyoko with the red bullet, and there is nothing to guarantee against that possibility, so we have to give it our best shot. Yui-wan-sama, let's go to a higher place. Kirigiri said as soon as we arrived at the shooting range. 300 meters is the limit here. We need to find out what it's like to snipe at longer distances. We made the observation deck our target and started climbing the mountain. Passing through the narrow mountain road, the view suddenly opened up. Standing on this high platform, the city below is unobstructed. Usually few people come here, and the surroundings are silent. At night, it's pitch black here, and the night scenery below only makes people feel lonely, but I heard this place is gradually gaining some reputation as a spiritual place recently. We reached the plateau at about noon. The sun is shining through the gaps in the thick clouds, and under its light, the snow-covered city is glowing white. The church-style building, which looks small, is our school. Rays of light are shining on it from the sky, looking like a place full of mystery. From here to the cross of the church 1680 meters. I checked with the rangefinder. Looking through the binoculars, the cross is only the size of a grain of rice. For me, who already have poor eyesight, I probably wouldn't have been able to see the shape of the cross without the help of these optical devices. 3,000 meters seem endlessly far. It's pathetic how I was so overwhelmed by 300 meters. Kirigiri looked into the distance using the sniper scope as a telescope, but after a few seconds she put the gun down. Holding a gun weighing nearly 4 kilograms for a long time without a stand must be too much for her physique. But it is precisely because we were able to hit at 300 meters distance that it is possible to hit at 1,000 meters. Our previous efforts were not in vain. I encouraged her and perhaps myself too. Don't be discouraged, Kirigiri-chan. I'm not discouraged. Kirigiri said, staring into the distance. I'm still living because this is a game. If it wasn't, then by now I'd be. I said it's fine. I hugged her from behind and pressed my body on her little back. I can feel Kirigiri's heartbeat, and at the same time, she could be feeling mine. See? But we don't know what will happen next. She still looked into the distance and said. Her body isn't trembling, and it seemed that her determination to face death isn't wavering at all. The reason why she can never be discouraged and keep looking forward is because she has the pride of being a detective. Moreover, she also has a defiant side. Kirigiri Kyoko will never let things end like this. Of course, we have to continue training, right? Yes, she said, turning her face slightly. This place is suitable for training on long distances. But it is not a good idea to fire live ammunition. I think we should rather dry fire here. And we can go to the shooting range below for live ammunition training. Thank goodness, Kirigiri-chan, your face has been looking very serious all morning. I thought you must have gotten tired of fighting. I've always had this face. Kirigiri said, sighing deeply. I was thinking of ways to win. For starters, sniping Johnny Arp himself is impossible. If it turns into a head-to-head sniper battle, we will be no match for him. The only way to attack is to stay out of his line of fire at all times, keeping ourselves hidden, and promptly sabotage the techniques. Like the first game? That time we were counterattacked. It's over once you poke your head out even for a little bit. Harsh conditions. Plains and isolated islands with no view cover are overwhelmingly disadvantageous for us. But if the game stage is changed to an urban area with many high-rise buildings, there could be many places to hide, but will the next Black Challenge choose such a place? If we are too cautious and keep dawdling, there will be victims. On the other hand, if we are too hasty to win, we will be sniped by Johnny, and then we will lose the whole thing. Seriously, how could he come up with such a frustrating game? Who knows how much fun Johnny is having by seeing us scrambling around in this grueling battle? It all depends on the next Black Challenge. If possible, I really hope it will be some kind of mansion or a villa. I don't think they will provide us with such a thoughtful service. If Shinsen has gotten a hold of this game, he may also intervene in the next final round. Yeah. I really hope he doesn't. We don't have the advantage in the first place. I let go of Kirigiri, leaned my back on the railing of the observation deck, and looked up at the sky. How long will this continue anyway? By the way, I used the dormitory phone to contact my grandfather when you were away, Yui-wan-sama. Kirigiri said. Really? Did he finally return home? Yes. Yay, with the grandfather and granddaughter of the Kirigiri family together, we are now invincible. The current head of the Kirigiri family who has been working as a detective for generations, and also the tutor of Kirigiri Kyoko, Yuhito Kirigiri, there is no doubt that his strength is enough to rival 000 ranks like Mikado Shinsen and Johnny Arp. However, things are not that simple. As soon as he came back, he began to move around solving other cases. He is too busy to have a time off. Everywhere he goes, he always encounters cases. This is the destiny of a great detective. What do you mean destiny? Shouldn't he first come to see if his granddaughter is safe and sound? No, it doesn't work like this. Even if something happens to a family member, the priority is to deal with the case at hand. This is the motto of the Kirigiri family. I'm sorry. I said too much. I apologized, and Kirigiri tilted her head slightly as if she didn't know why I apologized. He seems to have made contact with Shinsen. Yeah, so that means Shinsen has already been caught? Who knows? I'm not sure about the details, but he said that we can rest assured and leave it to him. Yuhito Kirigiri is an old acquaintance of Shinsen. The two used to have a mentor-disciple relationship. Maybe in a place we don't know, they are already having a mentor-disciple duel. All in all, let's concentrate on dealing with the next Black Challenge. Yeah, we need to get Johnny Arp to retire first. With that, there will be no 000 ranks on the committee side, and the committee's downfall won't be far away. Will things go this smoothly? As smooth as silk. I was in high spirits and hugged Kirigiri again. Let's do our best. So heavy, Yui-wan-sama. How rude. After that, we used a road sign almost 1,000 meters away as a target, and practiced dry firing by imitating actual shooting. beginning from taking the gun out, resting the pillow on the railing, steadying the stock, confirming the target, pulling the trigger, and quickly putting the gun away. We don't know where the other team will ambush us. For us, the importance of speed of guerrilla tactics is higher than fixed-point sniping. In the eyes of others, we probably looked like we were playing house. In fact, I myself don't know how this kind of training can work against world record level opponents. Even so, if we do nothing, we are just going to watch ourselves lose. There is no 1-2 punch. We need to improve the odds of winning as much as possible through training again and again, even if it's just a fraction of a point. After about 2 hours of training on the observation deck, we went to the firing range for live fire training. Despite what we did in the morning, Kirigiri's 200-meter shots were solid. The Olympic shooting competition is only 50 meters at most. Kirigiri-chan, wanna try it? I said while looking into the distance with the binoculars. It's not that easy, whether it's a game or actual combat. Saying so, she pulled the bolt lever and reloaded. Speaking of which, we're almost out of training ammunition. Johnny said to tell him if we run out, but how are we going to contact him? After training, we returned to the dormitory and found that someone had sent goods to my dorm room in a cardboard box. There is no delivery note. It looks like it was sent directly here just like before. I wonder what the hourly wage of the committee's part-time delivery person is. I opened it and found a gift box tied with a red ribbon and a card that said from Johnny. I opened the gift box with trepidation, and there are 300 rounds of supplementary bullets in separate boxes inside. So caring. If he wasn't our enemy, I might have really liked him. I said while sighing. Kirigiri immediately cast an icy glare, so I quickly said it was a joke to put it off. For the next 5 days, Kirigiri and I went back and forth between the school, the observation deck, and the shooting range every day. During the day, Kirigiri still looked very disciplined in going to class. She said earlier that one of the reasons why she returned to the country alone is to earnestly complete her studies. Perhaps it is also important for her to receive compulsory education and learn general knowledge. She hasn't disclosed her identity as a detective during her time at school. Probably because she is hiding too much, and she still seems unable to fit in with any group in class. I felt sorry for her because she was all alone, so I once went to her during lunch break and tried to eat with her, but the girls in the class started being loud about it when I showed up in the classroom, and I've dismissed the idea ever since. I wonder if she will be able to get close to her classmates in the future. I hope she will not graduate alone like this. Most of the time, Kirigiri returned to the dormitory before me, but she hasn't come back this day, so I got a little worried and was going to check in the middle school classrooms when she came back as if nothing happened. You came back so late today, what happened? I was just called to the faculty office to talk about my attendance. Is everything all right? All good. No, I don't think it is. I won't be able to stay in this school for long, and I think I'll be going abroad again soon. Is that so? Panic, and at the same time, a sudden feeling of loneliness rose spontaneously in me. Before, I always felt somehow that I will be with her until graduation. On the other hand, somewhere in the back of my mind there was always this feeling that my parting from her is destined to happen. Then, on February 13th. A message to the detective. Listen to the cry of the black. Location, Eatonside Amusement Park, 100 million. Murder weapon, M4, 100 million. Murder weapon, TAC-50, 100 million. Murder weapon, M60, 100 million. Murder weapon, Dragunov, 100 million. Murder weapon, throwing knife, 100 million. Total expenditure, 600 million. Based on the above expenses, summon the following detective. Samidare Yui. What is this? This time, the person playing the detective is Yui Wansama. There is no technique at all, and it's all just murder weapons? Not long ago, these letters and numbers were inexplicable combinations in my eyes, but now I understand them well. Except for the throwing knife, all the others are names of firearms. Does it have anything to do with Johnny Arp? Ah, right, the timer. I looked at the timer Johnny gave us. The countdown has just started. In other words, it's safe to assume that this black challenge is the stage that Johnny's game will use. They played a strange move again. They must have some intention in making me play the detective, right? Actually, it doesn't matter who plays the detective since it doesn't make much difference. Yes. Regardless of their intentions for the time being, since they appointed you as the detective, it means that we can't fully count on others in this black challenge. That's true, but let's start by finding the location first, as usual. When faced with incomprehensible situations, Kirigiri's unhinged mind is always reassuring. We went to the school, rushed to the information processing room, turned on the computer, and searched for information about Eatonside Amusement Park. Eatonside Amusement Park is an amusement park that was in operation until more than a decade ago. Like before, this amusement park is now closed all year round. The vast land that was carved out of the mountain is 600 meters on each side, and some of the rides, like the Ferris wheel and roller coaster, have not been dismantled, and they were left in place, a silent ruin. From here, it takes an hour by train and 30 minutes by bus. Since the bus is out of service now, we have to take a taxi. A sniper battle in an amusement park, there should be a lot of places to hide there. Here is a map of the amusement park when it was still in operation, keep it in mind. Kirigiri said, pointing to the monitor. The terrain within 5 kilometers of the surrounding area must also be checked in advance. What's the battle plan? First, about the sniper battle. It appears that the enemy is not just Johnny Arp. What do you mean? The weapons listed look like they're playing along Johnny Arp's game and have chosen Yui Wansama to play the detective. These can't be accidental. There is no doubt that the committee intends to intervene in this game. I can imagine that. What's the point of handing guns to the criminal of the black challenge? As long as we can think clearly through this issue, then we will see what they are up to. In short, the committee versus Johnny versus us, a three-way battle. Ah, that's why this black challenge is so strange. I finally understood the current situation. Perhaps the committee sensed something is off-putting in Johnny's behavior. They thought they couldn't let him continue to do whatever he wants, so they prepared this black challenge to crash Johnny's game. It's possible that the committee has been deliberately condoning Johnny before this, and they want to make this final battle a climax. We usually call those who accepted the black challenge offer criminals, but this time maybe we should call them assassins. So, who are the victims equals targets that this criminal equals assassin is aiming at? Me and Johnny Arp. Oh no. According to the rules of the black challenge, the criminal must kill all the target individuals with no exception to be considered a win, which means that the victory condition for the committee side is to kill me and Johnny Arp. Does this have anything to do with Johnny's 3 bullets rule? That's a rule we made up ourselves. It shouldn't have anything to do with the committee side. But that's... On the other hand, there's no need to follow this 3 bullets rule when we shoot someone on the committee side either. That's true, but that doesn't mean we have an advantage. However, if you think about it, there's absolutely no way that this assassin is a better sniper than Johnny, so we might still have a chance of winning? It's not that simple. Why? I think the assassin is not one person, but 5 people each using different weapons. M4. TAC-50. M60. Dragunov. Flying knife. 5 people to deal with? This is too much. It's no longer a murder case, it's mutual killing. Yes, that's right, this battle will decide who survives in the end. Kirigiri said it as a matter of fact. This is not part of the detective's job. Yes. I agree with your opinion too. Let's complain to Johnny and let him stop this game. He surely doesn't want things to turn out like this either. Who knows, he might find it more fun instead. Oh, right, we don't even know how to get in touch with Johnny in the first place. We can't request to cancel the game, but we can make it clear that we're not participating. Eh? We still have the option of ignoring this black challenge. That's what I think. What about you, Yui-Sama? The only people who will be targeted are me and Johnny, no other people to protect. So if we ignore it, it will just end up being an infighting between the committee and Johnny Arp, won't it? Ah, yeah, ignoring it, we can do that. The summoned detective will not be punished if they don't go to the scene. However, giving up the black challenge means giving up our game with Johnny. So it makes me feel like all our efforts are in vain. That said, my feelings don't really matter now. If there are no other victims to protect besides Kirigiri, then I can say for sure that our participation in the game has neither meaning nor purpose. On second thought, maybe Johnny will help us get rid of all those people? I think so too. Speaking of which, I wonder if any of the assassins can defeat that man. If he doesn't help us eliminate all the others, we might be affected, and that would be a problem. If someone survives, they will come back and attack Kirigiri-chan, right? Most likely. Since it's the committee, it's not too wild for them to use sleeping gas to make us unconscious, kidnap us, take us to Edenside Amusement Park, and force us to participate in the game, no matter how much we show our desire to not participate. Okay, I've decided, we'll ignore the black challenge. Also, just in case, for the next week, I'll do my best to protect Kirigiri-chan, because this time I'm playing the detective. I can be your shield in an emergency. So reliable. Kirigiri's expression softened. The rest we can do is pray that Johnny Arp will eliminate the assassins for us. This would mean that the match between us and Johnny would be sabotaged, but we didn't want to fight this kind of battle from the beginning. If this is the end of it, then there is nothing else to say. But what will happen to Liko? This is the only thing I'm a little worried about. 2. 4 hours after the black challenge envelope was opened, a white car being driven by Mikagami Ray is traveling up the winding mountain road. Edenside Amusement Park is just ahead. Since there is no time to prepare the helicopter this time, they chose to drive there. If you were going to have me drive, at least prepare a better vehicle. I would have preferred the tank. Mikagami said with a bit of anger. Johnny Arp in the passenger seat, who was looking into the chamber of the rifle in his hand, shrugged and replied. You think this little girl's hard to deal with? Because she's practically naked. Mikagami shook his head slightly. She is not bulletproof. What will you do when they come? We just cook em. Johnny pointed his thumb to the rear seat. On the rear seat are store-bought sugar and salt in 1 kilogram bags, piled up into a heap. Oh, look, speak of the devil, rumor lasts 75 days. Aye. Mikagami looked into the side mirror and saw a small truck approaching from behind. On the back of the truck stood a burly man, with short-shaved hair wearing an undershirt, and 2 sturdy arms reminiscent of the iron wheels of a road roller. Mikagami was looking at the big man through the side view mirror, when a sudden bang happened, and the side view mirror got popped off. Immediately followed by the sound of thumping, one more hole after another appeared on the car. Muzzle flashes blinked in the rearview mirror. The sound of gunshots reflected on the asphalt and echoed through the mountains. It's raining down on us. Looks like there's going to be a storm. Johnny shrank his neck and sank deeply into the seat. I heard there's a myth in this country called Rain Man. Ray, are you one of those? Stop joking. Every time the bullets hit the bags, white powder flew out and covered the air around. Suddenly, the gunfire ceased. The big man on the truck looked inside the gun and panicked. Is there a problem? He seems to be having a hard time operating it. A worried look appeared on the man's face. The M60 is a light machine gun with strong suppression capability, but it's easy to get jammed when it encounters mud or dust. Johnny said as he loaded the rifle in his hand. Should have paid more attention when it started raining sugar and salt. Johnny stood on the passenger seat, stuck his head out of the skylight, turned around and fired a quick shot at the truck. The left front wheel of the truck broke, and the body shook greatly. The mountain road just came to a turn. The truck failed to turn the corner smoothly, so it smashed through the guardrail and went flying down the cliff. The big man's face contorted in shock, and his proud muscles couldn't help him defy inertia. His body was thrown into the air and fell down with the truck. Good morning, Vietnam. Johnny waved goodbye to the big man. After eliminating the pursuers, the car carrying the 2 guys continued driving up the mountain road like it didn't just get shot full of holes. That's 1 person taken care of. 2 people actually. When was that? When I was leaving the hotel, I got sniped at, so I fought back. It wasn't even at the location written in the challenge letter, but he actually came to snipe me first. Don't you think that's a rule violation? I'm stricter than next door's auntie about the rules. What weapon did the enemy use? Dragunov. A Russian-made semi-automatic sniper rifle. Just like the AK, it can be said to be the representative weapon of the Soviet Union back then. The shooter was not Russian, but Japanese. He didn't seem to have much confidence in his abilities. I wonder what criteria the committee used to select them. Who knows? I wanted to ask him directly, so I went to find him on the roof of the building where he was, but he folded up and disappeared right in front of me. This was. The magic Mikado is good at. It seems that this matter is directly related to him, no mistake about that. What's Shinsen's aim? Is he planning to eliminate those of us who are in the way? That's too roundabout. Maybe he just can't stand us playing games for fun on our own? Johnny said, laughing loudly. I would let him play with us if he just asked. That's not funny, it's not just us they're trying to kill, but Yui-san and Kyoko-san too. If they get killed, the game will be over. HM? Right. Should we contact Team Yui-san? This time, let's stop the game temporarily, and give priority to eliminating the enemy. No, there's no need to contact them. Why? It's more fun this way. I knew you would say that. Then don't ask. But I'm somewhat relieved. I can now say that you, Johnny-san, really wasn't involved in formulating this black challenge. You were still doubting me. I'm the kind of person who can believe and doubt at the same time. You'd make a good wife. Johnny said sarcastically. The car finally arrived at a spacious parking lot. On this piece of land surrounded by mountains, there is a flat land of concrete. In summer, weeds would grow from the ground full of cracks and submerge the area. Now, only a small amount of snow has decorated the ground surface in a pure white color. Opposite the parking lot, the rusty Ferris wheel turned red could be seen, as if it had been drenched in blood. The same could be said about the carousel and the roller coaster. I was hoping this would be a happy story. Nah, you still have dreams and hopes, you don't have to do what I do. It's only at this time you act like an adult. That's how adults are. Hearing Johnny's words, Mikagami narrowed his eyes and slowly shook his head. Looks like there are no footprints on the snow. Mikagami changed the subject. Yet it's hard to imagine that we are the first to arrive. According to the Black Challenge rules, the criminal should have known in advance that this place would be the stage. They can then set traps, ambush us, and do whatever they want. Speaking of rules, generally, the motive of the Black Challenge perpetrators is revenge. Do you have anything in mind about the several perpetrators this time? Too much comes to mind. The families and loved ones of the people I got rid of after failing the Black Challenge in the past are too many to count. I see the committee selected the right people from them and sent them to be assassins. If they are all amateurs like that M60 just now, then I think I can beat them blindfolded. I don't believe it's that simple. Mikagami was especially worried about throwing knife. The sniper's equipment is meant to be used to deal with long-distance enemies, and it is not suitable for close combat, let alone allowing the enemy to get close to where a knife can be used. When that happens, you must be prepared for certain death. Presumably, throwing knife had already anticipated that the opponent would be a sniper, and the committee should have sent a skilled expert. The remaining two might not be as easy to deal with as the ones before. What about weapons for close combat? Mikagami asked, and Johnny pulled a single-action revolver from the holster under his arm. This thing is really outdated. I'm not like that M60 guy. No weapon can beat this gun in terms of reliability. It doesn't jam in a pinch. Johnny, like a protagonist in a Western action movie, spanned the gun around his finger a few times and then retracted it into the holster. This is not a reasonable choice. There are as many powerful automatic pistols in this era. You are the one hiding all kind of toys in that 4D jacket of yours. Hey, let me see what's going on inside it. No, stop it. Mikagami twisted his body to avoid Johnny. This is not the time for such things. If my guess is correct, Team Yui-san won't come here. Because. Just when he was halfway through his sentence, the car shook so much that it felt like a thud from the ground, and a huge hole opened in the center of the hood. This hole is much bigger than the ones opened by M60. Looks like it's already started. Johnny lowered his head and said, "It must be the TSE-50 sniper, with huge 12.7mm bullets as thick as a marker, and can easily shoot through a car's body. The shot just now must have been the enemy sniper performing a zeroing. The next shot will not only shoot through the body, but also hit the target accurately. Drive." Mikagami stepped on the accelerator before Johnny could say anything else. The car drove through the vast parking lot while kicking snow behind it. It charged forward without slowing down, breaking through the guardrail in front of it. Mikagami couldn't care less if the tires skidded on the snow. He turned the steering wheel in a big circle and broke into the amusement park through the entrance gate. And this time they were fired at by multiple shots from an unknown direction. Is this M4? However, there is no one inside the amusement park. Where are they shooting from? It's an all-out war all of a sudden. Quite a warm welcome. Mikagami slammed on the brakes, and the car came to a stop where it was almost about to crash into a small building directly in front. Smoke is coming from the hood. The gunfire continued unrelentingly from the right of the driver's side. The short metallic sound of the gunshots is probably due to the fact that the gunman is using a suppressor. The suppressor can suppress the sound of gunfire and muzzle flame, making it difficult to determine the location of the shooter. Ray, let's get out of here. Johnny kicked open the passenger car door and rolled out first. Mikagami maintained a hunched posture and crawled from the driver's seat to the passenger seat and was about to get out. But at that moment, in the corner of his field of vision, something moved slightly. To his left, just 10 meters away. A small section of the snow surface where there was nothing bulged slightly, taking a human shape. A ghillie suit. This kind of combat clothing can act as a camouflage, making the wearer one with the snowy landscape. The enemy is quite short, and their whole body is covered with what looks like white fur, looking like a Yukio Toko. So highly camouflaged that even from a distance of 10 meters, their outline was blurred. With a hood over their head and a white eyelet covering their face, only their calm and penetrating eyes could tell that they are human. Yukio Toko. Johnny H. Johnny-san. Mikagami shouted. Johnny spotted the Yukio Toko, jumped back, distancing himself from the enemy, then quickly pulled out his revolver and fired a shot. The bullet hit the Yukio Toko on the shoulder, and white hair scattered in the air. However, the Yukio Toko did not flinch. It looks like the bullet just made a hole in their ghillie suit. The Yukio Toko, on the other hand, flung his arms sharply almost at the same time they were hit by the bullet. A streak or two of silver light headed toward Johnny. Throwing knives. Johnny pulled the trigger of the revolver once and then another, and shot at the knives thrown at him. However, this marvelous skill was only useful for one knife. It was too late for the other knife. The knife stabbed deeply into Johnny's right shoulder. At the same time, the M4 Hale, which had been aiming at the car until then, changed the target to Johnny. What a grand welcome, damn it. Johnny went around to the back of the building to avoid the bullets. The bullet marks on the ground were chasing after him as if they had life. The throwing knife Yukio Toko also chased Johnny and ran towards the building. Johnny is their priority after all. Mikagami was left behind. He leapt out of the car and decided to chase after them. The footprints disappeared behind the building. They seemed to have gone inside. The building, which looked suspiciously purplish all over, was an attraction called the Mirror House. 2 lines of footprints extended all the way to the back door. The M4 Hale also stopped, possibly because they lost their target. Immediately afterwards, there was a strange sound of a gunshot. Then the sound of something hitting the ground. Mikagami tried his best not to make any noise as he gently opened the back door and looked inside the Mirror House. Total darkness. He turned on his penlight, and at the same time, the same light he shone lit up in all directions, and Mikagami got suddenly surrounded by a kaleidoscopic world. As soon as he stepped forward, Mikagami's figure shattered into countless pieces, scattering in all directions, and the whole world turned upside down. The Mirror House is filled with countless mirrors, including mirrors placed in pairs, concave mirrors, and convex mirrors, forming a small maze where you can experience a fantasy world. Mikagami held his breath and headed towards the depths of the maze. In the past, people used to call the unknown detective Mikagami Ray Ghost in the Mirror, but now Mikagami exists in all mirrors, and the boundary between himself and the mirror image became increasingly blurred. There is no sign of Johnny in the mirrors. It will be difficult to find him in this twisted and distorted world of mirrors. The real image must be found. It would be faster to find him while calling out, but there is no doubt that the enemy is also in this building, perhaps lurking behind one of these thin mirrors, and they won't easily reveal where they are. He lightened his footsteps and felt his way through the Mirror House for a while, when suddenly he bumped into something soft beside his feet. Something fluffy and white. It can be seen from the corner of the passageway. The foot of the Yukio Toko from before. Ah, so Johnny has already defeated the Yukio Toko. Mikagami turned the corner and entered the decagon-shaped room in the center of the Mirror House. There, Mikagami saw a terrible scene that even he had never expected. The Yukio Toko fallen near his feet. And further ahead. On the floor in the center of the room, a man has fallen on his back with both arms outstretched like a cross. A silver knife is stabbed on his shoulder. The holster could be seen under the arm of the messy jacket. And that outdated revolver. Johnny-san. The bullet had hit between the eyebrows and devastated almost the entire head, splattering it all over the room. This gruesome death turned the room into a kaleidoscope of red like no other. Why don't you stop fooling around and get up? Mikagami said while sighing. I get it, this is the so-called burlstone gambit. Seeing a corpse without a face to suspect that they are a different person. In the original book a shotgun was used. Mikagami approached the Yuki Otoko. This is what happened after Johnny shot and blasted the Yuki Otoko's face off. He swapped the clothes of the two persons, and now he's lying here pretending to be the Yuki Otoko. He's probably trying to make a joke. However, at that moment, something did not feel right. Mikagami squatted down beside the Yuki Otoko lying prone on the ground and took off the white hood. Then took off the white mask. Of course, Johnny's face will be there. Smiling with that childish look in his eyes as always. Laughing and saying, "Did you fall for it?" Mikagami thought so. However, the face that appeared under the mask was for a woman he hasn't seen before. Her hair color is close to silver, her brown skin and facial features resemble that of an Arab. Of course, her face is completely different from Johnny's. Mikagami realized he wasn't feeling calm. He took a closer look. No matter how he looked, this person is petite. Too small for Johnny to impersonate. He felt uncomfortable. He saw something so unbelievable that you jumped to a hypothesis he wanted to believe. Mikagami turned around and looked at the corpse in the center of the room. The head was blasted off, and the face almost lost its original shape, but the hair on the back of the head is the same color as Johnny's, and there is a stubble around the blood-soaked chin. I look like a wolf, yeah? A lone wolf kind of guy. Mikagami thought of what he said. To use a headless corpse as a disguise, you need a corpse that can serve as a scapegoat. However, only Johnny and throwing knife had entered this room. There were no footprints of anyone but them around the building, which Mikagami had already confirmed. The Yuki Otoko, actually the Yukiana, was there, so the logical conclusion is that the headless corpse is Johnny himself. Yukiana. Nevertheless, where did the bullet come from? The surrounding mirrors are all intact. Mikagami looked around and noticed something. Johnny's rifle is gone. Was it taken away? This means that a third party was here. Mikagami rushed out of the room and followed the mirror passage to the entrance in the opposite direction. He quickly reached the entrance. It's a heavy-looking double door, and it could not be opened since it's locked from the inside. He turned the knob to unlock the door. Perhaps the attackers are lying in ambush outside. Mikagami carefully opened a crack in the door. At first glance, there are no footprints on the snow. It seems that no one has ever gone out from here. In other words, one might say that this mirror house is a locked room. Mikagami turned around and planned to go back to the decagon-shaped room. Suddenly, a white shadow appeared in front of him. Throwing knife. She is still alive. She held a knife in her hand and raised it high up. Mikagami quickly dodged and at the same time took off his tie and wrapped it around the woman's right hand to tie her up. However, the woman's left hand was still free to move. The knife swept across Mikagami's neck. He heard the sound of blood splashing against the wall. Mikagami stepped back without hesitation, pushed open the door with his back, and rushed outside. Although there was no other choice. This action was a mistake. M4S from an unknown direction opened fire at Mikagami. Mikagami felt as if his body was being pierced by red-hot iron rods. The pure white snow was dyed bright red. He is not in the kaleidoscope at this moment, yet his vision began to distort and flicker with light flashes. His detective life did not last for long. Was that mostly true prediction still correct? Such a thought sprang up from some corner in Mikagami's blurred consciousness. He stumbled toward the center of the amusement park and fell. 3. Though we decided to ignore the black challenge, we didn't know when something could happen. Kirigiri and I asked for a leave of absence from school and waited until noon in the cafeteria of the dormitory. Lunch was sandwiches and coffee bought from the convenience store. As long as we can persist like this for a week, we will be able to get through this difficult time. As for the unsuccessful battle between us and Johnny, we will leave that for later. We have the same interests in being hostile to the committee. Maybe it is not unfeasible for us to form a unified front with Team Liko. I said to myself as I stared blankly at the TV in the cafeteria. Kirigiri glanced at me and said nothing. She has been reading a bunka book for a while, a mystery novel I lent her. The TV was playing news related to the previous case of the Katashiro Island. It seems that Psycho was successful in solving the case. The details have not been reported yet, but they said that the entire island can slide horizontally at 2 meters above sea level, and that the impossible crime was committed using this mechanism. A technique out of the ordinary, worthy of the committee. Incidentally, removing a person's entire face seems to be a variant of the burlstone gambit. Even if that was the case, it was probably a no-brainer for Psycho, who has a 0. I slumped over the cafeteria table, waiting for time to pass minute by minute. At first I opened my textbook to study, but the pages are already full of doodles. I hope weeks go by uneventfully, and before I know it, it'll be time to graduate. Wouldn't that be great? Yui-wan-sama, what are your plans after graduation? It's rare for Kirigiri to take the initiative and participate in the topic. That's still a long time away, so I haven't thought about it seriously. But in short, I plan to go to college, and of course I won't give up my job as a detective. Is that so? It's best if I can get a management qualification certificate in college. After graduating, I will first find a job in a detective agency. And eventually, I will have an independent business. How about the name Sammy Dare Detective Agency? Fufu, that sounds good. Kirigiri laughed faintly. Ha! What a rare day. Then I'll hire Kirigiri-chan. Then I can't call you Yui-wan-sama anymore. Yui Shoujo maybe? Stop it, that's embarrassing. I suddenly remembered. I think we had the same conversation when I first met her. Only 2 months have passed since then, but somehow I feel as if I have already experienced a lifetime's worth of experiences. I glanced at the clock in the cafeteria. It's just a little after noon. After I open the challenge letter, it feels like the hour hand is moving very slowly. There is still a long way to go. Just then, my phone rang. I reached over slowly and glanced at the LCD screen. Unknown number. Could it be? Hello. I listened intently. However, the other side did not speak. Could it be a harassing call? I tilted my head and gave Kirigiri a look. Hello? Who is this? Yui-san. Liko? It's Liko's voice. But it felt a little off. His tone was different from the usual lighthearted feeling. I turned on the phone speaker and put it on the table so that Kirigiri could hear it. I can't talk for too long. What do you mean? What's going on? The black challenge already has its first victim. Victim? The name of the victim is Johnny Arp. He was shot in between the eyes by a sniper and died in a building called the Mirror House in the amusement park. Wait a minute. Johnny is dead. I couldn't comprehend for a moment. Is this a bad joke? But if it is a joke, Liko's voice sounded too urgent. I don't know if it's because he is panicking or because he is having trouble breathing. And there will be a second victim soon. What's going on? Who is the second person? It's me. What? My right shoulder, right thigh, left ankle, and several other places have been shot. Also, there is a stab wound on the right side of my neck. The bleeding is quite serious. I'm not a high blood pressure person by nature, so I don't think I'll die just yet. Liko. Stay with me. What happened? Where are you now? Somewhere in my heart, I was still thinking that maybe he will suddenly laugh and say just kidding. More precisely, I hope that's the case. However, he continued with a dying voice. I'm still at Edenside Amusement Park, the location written in the challenge letter. You were attacked by an assassin, right? Kirigiri joined the conversation. Yes, there are still 3 assassins left. M60 and Dragunov have been eliminated by Johnny-san, and the rest should all be in this amusement park. It seems that the game has evolved into a gruesome mutual killing at some point. I didn't expect that Team Johnny would end up like this. We can say that our decision to ignore the case at an early stage was correct. However, if we leave Liko alone like this. To solve the case, let me describe the situation before Johnny-san was shot. Liko spoke indifferently about what happened in the amusement park. He said that the reason why he used the last of his strength to contact us was for this reason. In order to find out, he wants us to know as much information as possible. It is a very detective-like attitude. Yue-san, Kyoko-san. I'm sorry. I actually know I shouldn't contact you. Once I ask for help, the two of you will definitely come here. The reason why the attacker didn't give me a fatal blow must be for this reason, so they can shoot the companions who come to the rescue. It's a usual method for snipers. I know it well, yet. No need to say more. Kirigiri turned to me. Isn't that right? Yuyona-sama. Of course. I said emphatically. Liko, wait there. Team Sisters will come to rescue you right away. I'm sorry. His voice suddenly broke after he said that. Although the phone has not hung up, no matter how much I call for him, there was no response from the other end of the phone. It may be that he couldn't answer because of his current situation, or it may be because he has passed out. Taking into account the battery life of the other end's mobile phone, I had to hang up the phone. We went back to my dorm room and started to prepare our packing. While the fight between us and Johnny no longer exists. The guns and bullets he lent us will surely come in handy, and the fight isn't over yet. Kirigiri-chan, wait. Before leaving the dorm room, I called her to a stop. She turned around, and I took her hand and folded mine on top. What? It's a little good luck charm for safety. Johnny and Liko were both defeated by the enemy. The enemies are very powerful, and they are different from Team Johnny. They came with murderous intent. Our lives are no longer guaranteed. Charms are unscientific. She expressed confusion, and I held her hand firmly again. Sometimes these things are the last boosts you need. And while we're at it, why don't I give you a kiss on the forehead? A more effective one. I don't need it. Kirigiri shook off my hand and opened the dorm room door. She was going to go out, but she seemed to have changed her mind and turned around. No harm in a little. I lifted her bangs and kissed her on the forehead gently. She covered her forehead with her hand, lowered her head and left the room immediately. 2 hours later, we got off the taxi at a distance of 5 kilometers from Edenside Amusement Park. Next, we walked there. We are still 5 kilometers away, but it is still best to be cautious. The last time we fought with Johnny was a good lesson. We took care of concealing ourselves as we walked forward, trying not to let our bodies be exposed easily. On the way, we found traces of tires skidding on the snow. At the end of it was a cliff, the guardrail was broken, and empty bullet casings were scattered around. That's what Liko was talking about. They seem to have gotten rid of M60 on the way. The wreckage of the truck must be lying at the bottom of the cliff now. Before now, I always thought what Liko said might have been a lie, but after seeing such strong physical evidence, I can't not believe it. Kirigiri said with her arms crossed. After hearing Liko's desperate voice, she still suspected that he might be lying, as expected of Kirigiri Kyoko. Do you want to check the bottom of the cliff as well? There's no need for that. Let's hurry. We started to move forward again. According to Kirigiri's reasoning, there are 5 perpetrators in this black challenge, and they each have a weapon, firearm, as written in the challenge letter. As evidenced by Liko's testimony. And the perpetrators have successfully killed one of their targets, Johnny Arp. The next target is Kirigiri Kyoko. Of course, I won't let them succeed. I swore this in my heart once again, and walked faster along the snow-covered road. Finally, not far from the amusement park, we left the road and got into the mountains. If we approach from the front, there is no doubt that we will be sniped. We chose to go to the side and first grasp the overall situation from a higher ground. We arrived at a high point without being sniped on the way. We hid in the forest, overlooking the amusement park. The amusement park grounds are about 400 meters away from this place, with a fence as its boundary, and it stretched out into the distance. Near the fence, we could see the track of the roller coaster, which is red-black due to rust. From a distance, it gives a very uncomfortable feeling, and it looks like some kind of explosive vine. A little further past the starting point of the roller coaster, there is a purple square building with a car parked next to it. I took a closer look with my binoculars and saw that the car is riddled with bullet holes from gunfire. That should be the car that Liko and Johnny drove. That means that building is the mirror house. My eyes moved from that place to the center of the amusement park. I spotted red marks on the snow. Is it blood? My eyes followed those traces, and they continued to extend towards the waterless fountain on the central square further away. There is a person lying down beside the fountain. It's Liko. He is lying there leaning against the stone perimeter of the fountain, and the surrounding snow is dyed red. He is motionless, holding what must be a cell phone in his right hand, about 700 meters away from where we are. He's breathing. Kirigiri said while looking through the high-powered scope. He's still alive. Really? Thank goodness. It appears he tried to stop the bleeding himself once, with tourniquets tied around his arms and legs. But from looking at the amount of bleeding, he won't last long. We must hurry up and save him. Calm down, if we go now we'll be shot. But first of all, let's confirm what we should do. Kirigiri put down her scope. Yui-sama, what are we here for? It's of course, to save Liko. Yes, in order to save him, we must first ensure safety, and for that we need to get rid of the enemy. Got it. It's the same thing we had to do when we fought Johnny Arp, find the target, get close without being spotted by the enemy, and shoot accurately. Yeah. The problem is how to find the target. The remaining 3 assassins must be hiding somewhere in this amusement park, but if we act rashly, we will end up like Liko and Johnny. Then, I'll be the bait. I'm the one playing detective this time, and they can't hurt me, so I'll go to the square on purpose. I don't agree. Kirigiri shook her head. The black challenge this time is special, and it may not necessarily prohibit attacking detectives like before. Is that so? Those guys pay special attention to the rules. I don't think they changed it. Even if the rules remain the same, whether the assassins will follow the rules or not is another story. What's more, let's just assume that they are obeying the no harming the detective rule. Do you believe they will try shooting you if you run out as a bait? Since they can't hurt you, they won't even think of shooting at you, right? Right. It finally hit me that deliberately leading the opponent to shoot and letting them reveal their position won't work. Then I'll just walk up to Liko's place by myself and move him to a safe place. And no, considering that there might be a change in the rules, I should still avoid making any rash moves. How do we even start? We already have what we need to infer the assassin's locations. Kirigiri said. The characteristics of the weapons, Liko's testimony, the circumstances under which Johnny Arp was killed, we're going to use all that to determine where the assassins are and get rid of them one by one. Yes, we are detectives after all. Our weapon is not the gun, but our heads. I'm guessing they didn't leave their sniping spots all this time. Reason is because they are using Liko as bait. Their crosshairs must be aiming around Liko. I see. The only person who is hard to figure out would be Throwing Knife. At least I think she should be lurking within the knife's attack range near Liko. There are 3 assassins left. Among them, Liko only saw Throwing Knife directly. According to him, she is a small-bodied woman disguised in a ghillie suit. She hid in the snow and launched a surprise attack. Johnny was injured in the shoulder. And she was the one who cut Liko's neck. The so-called throwing knife, as the name suggests, is a throwing knife. A knife that is specially processed for easy throwing. It can be a nemesis for snipers. I wonder if the woman in the ghillie suit was an expert at killing people from the start, or was originally an amateur who repeatedly trained in knife throwing in the hope of one day getting a chance for revenge. Either way, it is the same for us. She will be a difficult enemy to deal with. As for M4, their strategy is more of a poor marksman with a lot of shots than precision sniping. I said. It's an unprofessional technique, but it's quite reasonable considering the location. The enemy also installed a suppressor in order not to reveal their position. From this point of view, they are a despicable enemy. M4 should be the one that shot Liko. M4 is a kind of carbine. Among military assault rifles, it is famous for its ease of operation and simple design. It has an effective range of 500 meters. It is mainly used for alley and indoor warfare. And other close-range, medium-range combat. It is also common to equip it with accessories like suppressors and laser sights to make it easier for special forces. The last one left. TSC-50, the one who blasted a hole in the hood of the car and drove Liko and Johnny to their own turf. An anti-material sniper rifle with a total length of about 150 centimeters that looks like a monster. Its effective range is usually considered to be 1,800 meters, but there has been sniping records of over 2,000 meters on the battlefield. With the existence of such ultra-long-range sniper rifles, the possibility of the enemy lurking outside the amusement park is not small. If Liko and Johnny were attacked by TSC-50 in front of the parking lot of the entrance gate, then the range of the enemy's location is quite limited. Kirigiri used the scope to look at the distant mountains in the direction of her left hand. I wouldn't be surprised if they are in that area, but... Kirigiri tilted her head in doubt. Should we go over there and take a look? No, let's ignore that side for now. There is another place that needs to be checked first. What place? Mirror House, the murder scene. 4. We went down to the foot of the mountain and climbed over the fence to sneak into the amusement park. It's still silent and no gunfire was heard. Kirigiri seems to have grasped the approximate location of the enemy and has a good idea of which direction to pay attention to. We walked between the pillars of the roller coaster track to the back door of the mirror house. There was no problem up to that point, and then... I'll go ahead. I opened the back door and slipped in quietly. The mirror house is just like its name. There are mirrors on all sides. The internal structure is as intricate as a labyrinth, and there is no lighting inside, it's dark. I relied on night vision goggles to ensure a clear vision and started moving forward step by step. It's only natural for the enemy to hide here, so I was ready to use my body as a shield and walked with Kirigiri's hand in mine. Every time I turned a corner, the reflection of myself in the mirrors made me tremble. If this was a date, it would have been a funny story. The distinctive smell of blood has been in the air from the time we entered the building, but after turning a certain corner, the smell suddenly became stronger. In the center of a decagon-shaped room surrounded by mirrors, a half-headless body had fallen on its back. Johnny Arp. To us, he was an enemy, and I know he deserved what happened to him, but he shouldn't have been killed so cruelly like this. We didn't stop, but looked around to confirm that the building is safe before returning to the scene. I put away the night vision goggles and took out my flashlight. According to Liko's testimony, the building was a locked room at the time of the crime, with only the footprints of Johnny Arp and Throwing Knife at the back door, and the front entrance was locked from the inside. According to the situation at the time, it was indeed a locked room. But if Throwing Knife is the murderer, then this cannot be considered a locked room mystery, right? Yes. Kirigiri said, crouching beside the body. But this level of damage from a fatal head wound, it's impossible to cause it with a knife. Could it be that Throwing Knife actually had a gun in her hand and fired it? If that's the case, there are a few points that can't be explained. Can't be explained? It's odd that the surrounding mirrors are not broken at all. Based on the victim's condition, the bullet must have penetrated after destroying his head. If Throwing Knife ran into this place after chasing Johnny Arp and shot him after running to this room, the bullet should have penetrated the mirror across the room, yet that mirror is intact. Indeed. However, there's a possible explanation. According to Liko, Throwing Knife is a small-bodied woman, which means that when she and the victim, Johnny Arp, raised their guns and aimed at each other's heads, her trajectory was slightly slanted upwards. The mirrors in this room are not connected to the ceiling, so the bullet may have not hit the mirror, but hit the wall above it. That means there should be a bullet embedded in the wall, right? I looked in the direction Kirigiri's finger was pointing at. At first glance, I couldn't find any trace similar to a bullet hole. I looked around the entire room and didn't find any bullet hole. What's going on? I got confused. Given the circumstances, it's odd if the bullet didn't strike a wall or a mirror no matter who fired the shot. Was Johnny moved here after being shot somewhere else? That means that the blood splatter all over the room is fake. Why would the murderer do this kind of thing? Kirigiri examined the body thoroughly as usual. Yui-wan-sama, help me out. She raised the arm of the body, trying to turn it from a supine to a prone position. I tried my best not to look at the body's broken head, and together with Kirigiri, I turned the body over so that it's lying prone. Even Dolmi spotted it right away. After moving the body away, there is a clear bullet hole on the floor. I can't believe it's in a place like this. Just as I thought. Kirigiri crossed her arms. Assuming the victim was standing near the center of the room at the time, the ballistic path connecting the victim's head to the bullet hole in the floor. Kirigiri looked up at the ceiling. I turned the flashlight to a point on the black ceiling. A circular mark like a stain could be seen. Yui-wan-sama, can you reach there? Piece of cake. I jumped in place and touched the stain on the ceiling. Something didn't feel right. It didn't feel like a stain. To be more precise, it was a circular depression. That's a little strange. Hold on a second. I put down the case on my shoulder, took out the Remington M700, held it by its stock, and poked the depression on the ceiling with the tip of the gun. It felt in my hand like I have taken a lid off, and a hole opened. Beyond the hole, I can see a dull-colored sky. That's where the bullet came from, right? Looks like it. They made the hole in advance for sniping. However, if the hole was left open all the time, the victim might get suspicious, so they added a shutter that can be opened and closed remotely, and it's open only when the sniper wants to shoot, I think. In other words, there is a literal hole in this locked room. What an elaborate or detailed work. It would be normal if it was from the committee, but if it was prepared by the sniper himself, then I think that person has a very detestable character. The hole is only 5 centimeters in diameter at most. Do you think the perpetrator shot Johnny through this hole? It's almost the same as threading a needle. No, I think it might actually be more difficult. Although this kind of sniping is unbelievable, it's still not as good as his marksmanship. Kirigiri looked down at the body beside her feet. Yui-wan-sama, it's better not to keep staring at that hole. A bullet might fly in. Whoa! I hurried away from the hole in the ceiling. At any rate, according to this trajectory, the enemy should be sniping from a fairly high place. Are they sniping from somewhere in the surrounding mountains? When sniping from a mountain, even if a certain height can be secured, the distance to the target will widen, so it is strange that the shot is not as close to the wall than it actually is. They must be sniping from a closer place. The Ferris wheel. An idea flashed in my mind. Kirigiri nodded, looking like she understood all of that from the beginning. The pod on the apex of the Ferris wheel might make this kind of sniping possible. Judging from the condition of the body and the size of the bullet hole, the sniper must be TAC-50. Yeah, the 5.56mm bullets of the M4 wouldn't have caused such a brutal scene. We finally have a grasp on where one of them is. TAC-50 is in a pod of the Ferris wheel. And that person was the one who killed Johnny Arp. Okay, so how are we going to take out the person on top of the Ferris wheel? Now that I think about it, can that Ferris wheel still move? Kirigiri-chan, what are you doing? Kirigiri was walking around touching each of the mirrors surrounding the room in turn. This is it. She seemed to have found something and tried to remove the mirror from the wall. What's wrong? This is a one-way mirror. Eh? With a little force, Kirigiri removed the mirror hanging on the wall easily. It's indeed a one-way mirror. After removing the mirror, there is a hollow inside, and in the hollow is a camera with several wires connected to it. What's this? It was prepared by the sniper. Why prepare such a thing? It takes more than just a small hole in the ceiling to pull off this sniping. No matter how good one's eyesight is, there is no way to see the target from that distance through the small hole, correct? I see. A tool was needed to locate the target. I figured it had to be in the room, and sure enough, it was hidden behind a mirror. The sniper calculated the timing to snipe by looking at real-time footage captured by this camera. The camera was set to night vision mode, so even if the light was dim, they were able to see indoors, and the LED indicating that its filming was also carefully taped over to prevent anyone from finding the camera through the one-way mirror. This person really did a meticulous job. If they are still watching the footage of the camera, then all our actions are being seen. If that's the case, then I suggest that they surrender quickly. Kirigiri said coldly to the camera. I wonder if it reached the perpetrator. After we finished investigating the murder scene, we went outside through the back door. The back door is a blind spot for the Ferris wheel, so at least we didn't have to worry about bullets flying from that direction. The sniper on the Ferris wheel should have already spotted us through the camera footage, and they must be itching to pull the trigger now. We hid behind the building and peeked our digital camera out to take a picture in the direction of the Ferris wheel. This is a way to scout the enemy without looking. Of course, the flash was turned off in advance. The digital camera could have been sniped, but fortunately that did not happen. I looked at the photos with Kirigiri. The Ferris wheel, covered with red rust, looks like a foreboding relic reminiscent of a post-apocalyptic world. There are 32 pods in total, and each one looks like a round coffin. We checked the pod at the highest point. The upper part of the pod is inlaid with glass, but we didn't see anyone carrying a gun inside. Kirigiri whispered out. I made a very grave mistake. What? What's wrong? Look, One-sama, the pod depth of the Ferris wheel is only 130 centimeters at most. I finally noticed too. TAC-50 is about 150 centimeters long and even longer if a suppressor is installed, so there's no way to sit in the pod. To be more precise, it is possible to put it in the pod by holding it at an angle, but it is not likely to shoot at least in the direction of the mirror house. And it is probably impossible to shoot in the direction of the parking lot. If all the windows of the pod were broken and removed, the gun might still be able to be mounted, but the sturdy gun body would inevitably stick out, which is the same as telling others where you are, with no way to escape. If this sniper skill is enough to achieve the kind of sniping that is akin to threading a needle, then the enemy wouldn't have chosen such an inconvenient place as a sniper location. That means TAC-50 is not on the Ferris wheel. We widened our search from the pod to the entire Ferris wheel. We carefully checked the outer skeleton, access stand, etc., but we did not find a single person. Where did we go wrong? Was it not TAC-50 that smashed Johnny Arp's head into pieces from the beginning? How is this possible? That diabolical destructive power must have been from a .50 caliber gun. In that case, was the sniping position we deduced wrong? The ballistic trajectory we inferred from the traces left in the room is undoubtedly from a high place, and from the fact that the sniper had set up a camera for monitoring, the small hole in the ceiling was used for sniping for sure. Apart from the Ferris wheel, there should be no other sniping positions. However, TAC-50 cannot be used in the small pod of the Ferris wheel. The mystery of the sniper locked room has returned to square one. Look at this. Kirigiri pointed to the photo in the digital camera and said. I zoomed in on the bottom pod of the Ferris wheel, and something unexpected is there. It's a black carbine. This is M4, no mistake in that. The M4 carbine has a total length of 85 centimeters, and with a suppressor it should be less than 100 centimeters. Even in the pod, there is sufficient space to use it. Why is the M4 there? There is no sign of the shooter. Looking closely, the photo is a bit unnatural. The M4 is placed in the center of the pod, and it looks like it's floating in midair. Even if there is a support on the seat to fix the gun body, it will not look like this. However, the center of the pod is a place for people to enter and exit from, and there are no seats there, which means there should be some kind of stand, and the gun is set on it. However, this way, there is no room for the shooter. Yui-wan-sama, let's go near the Ferris wheel. But how do we get there? As soon as we get out of the corner of this building, we might get hit by the gun on the Ferris wheel, right? Don't worry about that. Kirigiri said, looking like she has already made up her mind. But it's very dangerous to approach from the front. Let's get out of the amusement park first, circle around from the outside, and approach from behind the Ferris wheel. Understood. We left the mirror house and climbed over the fence to get outside. We walked to the tree-lined hillside, and from there we circled the amusement park and headed for the Ferris wheel. We stopped several times along the way to look around with my binoculars. There were no enemies. Not only that, but I didn't even see a single footprint. It feels like fighting an unseen enemy in a no man's land. I looked at Liko near the fountain. He is lying there as still as before. We must get to him as soon as possible. The reason why I became a detective is to help those who call for help. If I can't save him, who is in danger now, then there's no point in me being a detective. Yui-wan-sama. Kirigiri's call brought me back to my senses. Sorry, let's get going. We went around to the back of the Ferris wheel. We hid among the trees and took pictures of the surroundings again with the digital camera. After looking at the photos, a shudder ran through me. The 32 pods of the Ferris wheel are all equipped with M4 carbines. I couldn't help but get goosebumps just looking at the photos. It feels like I have encountered a monster of unknown origin. What's going on here? Just as I thought, Kirigiri approached the Ferris wheel. Yuyona-sama, come here too. We climbed over the fence and entered the amusement park again. The giant pillars of the Ferris wheel are very close together. We approached cautiously, trying not to make any noise. On the way, I accidentally tripped over my step and almost fell into a large round hole at my feet, almost screaming. It's an underground manhole, and it's open since the manhole cover is broken. I covered my mouth and managed to swallow back my screaming. Kirigiri didn't notice my mishap. She climbed directly under the Ferris wheel first and tiptoed on the platform. She tried to look into the pod at the bottom. I quickly followed her example. Looking inside the pod, the M4 is fixed in the center with a tripod, and there is something similar to a switch on the trigger, with a wire connected to it. The other end of the wire is connected to two laptops, placed side by side on the seat, both closed, but seemingly not turned off. Is this a computer-controlled unmanned weapon? One of the assassins, M4, is actually an unmanned weapon. With advancements in sensing technology, automated weapons such as unmanned or automatic turrets have been developed to a level where they can be used in actual combat. In the future, detectives may also have to take unmanned murder weapons into consideration. They probably needed 32 of them to be ready to fire at any time in the 168 hours. The gun that fires is always the one at the top, and when it runs out of ammo or batteries, the Ferris wheel will rotate to move the next pod to the top, like a giant revolver. They've made yet another outrageous mechanism. Let's check inside. Can we get close? The back of this machine seems to be the blind spot. Kirigiri jumped inside the pod through the broken window using the platform she was standing on, and I jumped in after her. The pod swayed from side to side, making it feel like a bit of an attraction. I really wish I could ride the Ferris wheel with you on a different day. I wish so too. Kirigiri murmured, opening the lid of the laptop on the seat. Okay, this seems to work with face recognition, not motion detection. What do you mean? There is a small camera attached to the gun's mounting rail. If that camera detects the face of a registered target, it will fire. And this is what shot Liko and Johnny. My face is also registered. It looks like the picture was taken recently. I wonder when it was taken. But when we approached the mirror house, Kirigiri-chan, you didn't get shot at. Yes, because I always thought that the sniper might be hiding on the Ferris wheel. I have been very careful not to expose my body to the other side's ballistic path. Climbing over the fence was the most dangerous, but it was still quite a distance from this place, so maybe the camera didn't recognize it was me. You already knew that the enemy is on the Ferris wheel? This is the highest place in the amusement park. It's natural to think so, but I didn't expect it to be an unmanned weapon. Hearing her say so, it may indeed be one of the most suspicious places. From what we saw from the photos of the digital camera, the uppermost pod window glass is not broken, but the pod next to it on the right has the front part of its window glass full of circular holes. Most likely it's the traces left by the countless bullets that went through the window panes when it aimed at Johnny and Liko, and after that, the Ferris wheel was reloaded. It's safe to say that the window glass with the circular holes is enough to prove that Kirigiri's reasoning is correct. So what's next? What are we going to do with this giant revolver? It will take too much time to break the laptops one by one, and it's dangerous to leave it alone, and we won't have time to rescue Liko. Do you have any good ideas, Kirigiri-chan? Yes. She thought for about 5 seconds and then said, how about making the Ferris wheel move, and then stop it when there is no pod at the top? I see, that's clever. However, the problem is how to make the Ferris wheel move. There is a control room next to the ride's entrance. I said, pointing to it. You can often see staff operating inside, so it shouldn't be difficult. I think it requires a key. And we don't have it. Even if there is a key, I don't think the committee will leave it unattended. Or maybe the committee kept it there for the sake of fairness. I'll go check the control room. It's fine for you? Kirigiri looked up at me worriedly. My face isn't registered in the laptop, right? Then don't worry. I jumped out of the pod. Kirigiri-chan, why don't you come out too? Okay. I crept over to the control room. It felt like all 32 guns were pointing at me, and I broke a cold sweat. It's not just the M4 that's dangerous. We still haven't figured out where TAC-50 is hiding, and we have no clue as to where throwing knife is. I hunched over and rushed into the control room. I found the panel with Operation Panel written on it, but the key area is sealed with a lid, which is naturally locked. However, I cannot back out at this point. I took out one of the portable tools from my backpack, a flat blade screwdriver. I inserted the tip of a screwdriver into the gap in the lid and used the leverage principle to pry the lid off. The lid was surprisingly easy to open. There are countless switches and gauges on the operation panel. For a while, I didn't know where to start, but suddenly I found a note inside the cover, which has the operation sequence in detail written on it. It must be for emergency purposes, so that even inexperienced staff can operate it. I pressed the buttons one by one in order. Then, the Ferris wheel began to move, creaking like a scream echoing from hell. It's the scream of the unmanned weapons. Immediately after that, I pressed the stop button. I then confirmed that there is indeed no pod at the top. In order to prevent someone from operating it remotely, I turned off the main power. That'll do. In addition, to prevent someone from making a move afterwards, I broke a few switches and tucked away the sequence of operations note. Then I hurried back to Kirigiri. And with that, M4 is completely eliminated. There are still 2 left. 5. We temporarily got out of the amusement park and had a strategy meeting together by a birch tree. Kirigiri took a laptop from the pod and parsed the data inside. The content of the data showed that the person who wrote the automatic weapon program was a man named Joshua Lindbergh, who stole someone else's brilliant AI program, which is said to have been written by a Japanese middle school student, but he used it without authorization to do some wrongdoing. The program has an automatic tracking function based on facial recognition technology, but it was not connected to the camera in the mirror house. If M4 wanted to snipe Johnny Arp inside the mirror house, Johnny Arp must have been identified through the camera set above the gun. But it would have only been able to detect the tip of his head through the small hole in the ceiling. That would make sniping impossible. It is also clear from the destructive power of the bullet that it can't be a 5.56mm bullet from an M4. The more critical problem is that the TAC-50 isn't where they should be. Taking trajectory into account, the only place where sniping is possible is the highest point of the Ferris wheel. However, TAC-50 was not there. This is an undoubted fact. Kirigiri said in a low voice, talking to herself. What do you think about the fact that Johnny's gun was missing? If the person who shot Johnny took it away, that means that they at least went in and out of the scene, right? Maybe they used a magnum at close range, and the bullet hole in the floor alongside the small hole in the ceiling were all tricks to make us think the bullet came from outside. That line of thinking has already been debunked by the lack of bullet holes in the surrounding walls and ceiling. Then, how about we reverse the trajectory line that we are assuming? Is there anything wrong? Yes. I think Yui-Wansama's reasoning was very good, but... It's okay, go ahead, Kirigiri-chan. What was throwing knife trying to hide through this ruse? Eh? What do you mean? She was there to kill Johnny Arp in the first place, and she had no intention of hiding her will to murder. At the beginning, she also threw the knife. If the knife stabbed a vital part, then Johnny Arp would have already been dead. The reason why she entered the mirror house was to catch up with her target and kill him, right? Yeah. Despite this, when Johnny Arp was found dead on the ground, she carried out a trick to deceive others and tell them I didn't kill anyone, so what's the point? This, you see, this is still the black challenge after all. If the criminal is identified by the detective, the game is over, so it's normal to cover up the truth through tricks, right? That still contradicts her initial attack. That's true. I think this black challenge will end with the detective identifying the perpetrator as usual. They will win whether they are accused or not by killing their targets, Johnny Arp and me. I can only assume they are operating under this rule. Yeah. Indeed, this black challenge is largely motivated by the committee's schemes from the beginning. Ultimately, it's possible that there is only one condition for victory, and that is to survive. Yes, except perhaps only the don't harm the detective rule must be followed. The evidence is that there is no photo of Yui-Wansama registered in the laptop. That would be great, I can stand in front of you to protect you. You always say this. Even though I hate all the things related to the committee, I still like this rule. Because then I can become my ideal detective. To protect others, to save others, to become a hero in the eyes of others. Even so, you can't mess around. Kirigiri said, somewhat troubled. Don't expect a cornered criminal to follow the rules. I know. This has nothing to do with the rules. With or without rules, I should be a detective who protects others. Speaking of which, let's get back to the topic. Kirigiri said. I don't think the person who killed Johnny Arp was throwing knife. If she fired a shot at Johnny, as Yui-Wansama had reasoned, she could have only done it through the small hole in the ceiling while lying on the ground, but she had no reason to do that. Alright, I'll give you that. According to the process of elimination, the murderer is the remaining TAC-50 dot. Yes. But I'll keep saying that there is no place in the amusement park that is closer and higher than the Ferris wheel. Or should we regard the bullet hole left at the scene as a trick? However, if it was a trick, then the question goes back to who and for what purpose was this disguise carried out? It makes little sense for these assassins to hide their identities. Where exactly is TAC-50 and how did they snipe Johnny? Hey, Kirigiri-chan, I suddenly thought of something and asked. Are these assassins cooperating with each other? Or are they all working alone? It feels like they are cooperating with each other in the way they are pressing Liko and Johnny at every step. For M60 and Dragunov, I don't think these people were cooperating with each other. They were most likely going their own way. Is that so? Then if Johnny hadn't escaped into the mirror house, he wouldn't have been killed? Yes. Kirigiri pondered for a moment, as if she suddenly thought of something, and began to use the scope to observe the amusement park. What's wrong? That yellow building. She pointed to a building not far from the entrance gate. It's an office and a shop, right? Let's go check it out. Kirigiri suddenly started walking down the mountain. Wait a minute. We climbed over the fence just like before and approached the building's back door. The door is unlocked, so I went in first. I entered the empty office area. It's a place where the amusement park management and staff used to do their business. There are a few tables and chairs scattered around, and it looks like a complete wreck. The posters on the cracked walls are dated more than 10 years ago. Yui-Wansama, look at your feet. Kirigiri said. There's nothing. There's hardly any dust. Ah, true. It's easy to disguise the snow outside, but it's hard to restore the dust inside once you step on it, so they just cleaned it all up. That means someone was here recently? Yes. Of course, it was someone who was involved in this black challenge. Kirigiri looked around the room, and her eyes fell on the blackboard on the wall. It was probably used as a schedule. It's about 1 meter square, with a pre-printed border. There is no writing on it. Yui-Wansama, this way. Kirigiri made a gesture to me, signaling me to walk to the wall. If you stand too much in the middle, you might get hit. Might get hit? From where? Look. Kirigiri suddenly grabbed the border of the blackboard and shook it up and down repeatedly. She then took the blackboard off the wall. There is a strange depression in the wall where the blackboard was hung before, and inside is a camera, the same as the one we saw in the mirror house. On closer look, there is a small hole on the blackboard, and it seems that the camera is filming the interior through this small hole. What on earth is this? I'll tell you soon. Let's go to the next room. We opened the door and walked out. The small room is set up with a counter and shelves. I think it was a shop before. We hid in a small corner and leaned our heads together. Yui-Wansama, you asked me before what would happen if Johnny Arp didn't escape into the mirror house, and I pondered that question for a moment. Yeah. Even if he didn't escape into the mirror house, let's say, he escaped into the building where this office is located. Even then, he would still have been sniped. The reason is this camera, that's what TAC-50 set up to confirm the location of the target, right? Yes, in other words, TAC-50 has cameras set up everywhere, no matter where the target goes, he will be sniped from wherever they are. Is there really such a place? Considering the trajectory of the mirror house, there is no doubt that the bullet was fired from a high place. However, there is no such a high place around where this sniping is possible. Kirigiri-chan, does that mean you have already thought of where the sniper is? Yes. And no way, when did you? There was a hint in the amusement park. Once you factor in that hint and superimpose one fact after another, the answer will come out naturally. Johnny was sniped from high above through a small hole in the ceiling. Following the presumed line of fire, there is no high place around where you can snipe. The sniper set up cameras around to confirm the location of the target. I can't figure it out. Is it possible that they were circling around in a helicopter and sniping from there? That's an interesting idea, but we didn't see or hear any helicopter. Then from higher altitude, around 8,000 meters. At that distance, it is impossible for a 12.7mm bullet to hit the target's head accurately in the first place. Sorry, I was rambling. I pouted. But there is no sniping position located at that high of a place anywhere. This fact cannot be changed, right? Yes, it can't be changed, so we have to think from another point of view. Another point of view. Speaking of points of view, the sniper deliberately set up cameras to confirm the location of the target. That means, the target cannot be seen through the scope or the naked eye from the position of the sniper, is that right? That's right. This is strange. Since the target cannot be seen from the sniper's position, how did they let the bullet hit the target? Bullets can only fly in a straight line, so the target must be located in a position that can be seen on that straight line. After I said this, it dawned on me all of a sudden. Bullets fly in straight lines? When we were training, I clearly witnessed it many times. Bullets fly in a straight line, but that's only in concept. In reality, wind, air resistance, gravity, and other factors cause bullets to sway up, down, left, and right in a significant way. Bullets do not fly in a straight line. After thinking about this fact, I was able to imagine where TAC-50, the culprit who shot Johnny, was. Kirigiri-chan, I finally got it. I said, taking Kirigiri's hands. TAC-50 is not at a high place at all. Even if they are not at a high place, they can still draw a ballistic trajectory like the Mirror House one. It was a curved shot overhead that cuts a parabola like a mountain peak. Very impressive, Yui-1-sama. Kirigiri smiled. That means TAC-50 is really hidden in the mountains nearby, right? No, if that's the case, Liko and Johnny should have heard clearer gunshots. Even with a suppressor attached, the sound would be quite loud. Then, where? A while ago, I saw Yui-1-sama almost falling into a manhole. I saw many other manholes with open lids in the amusement park. I think all the power cables for the attractions are managed underground, and each manhole leads down to a controlled passageway. Right, underground. TAC-50 is hidden in an underground passage, and while using the camera to confirm the location of the target, they are using these manholes in the amusement park as bullet outlets for curved shots. But still, people normally don't come up with a parabolic shot with a .50 caliber bullet that flies 3,000 or 4,000 meters. Yes, I think this is a sniper on the same level as Johnny Arp, maybe even better than him. Realistically, can a bullet fired into the sky maintain enough kinetic energy to kill a person on the ground? There have been a few cases in which people have been killed by bullets that were shot up by celebratory guns and happened to hit them when they fell. Huh, is that so? Since it is a .50 caliber bullet, it would take several seconds from the time it's shot up to the time it falls. This is much more difficult than a normal horizontal shot, because the shooter has to calculate the time it takes for the bullet to fall. Now the mystery of the sniper in the locked room is roughly clear, but then why did throwing knife collapse inside the Mirror House? She did go after Johnny Arp. Could it be that she was counterattacked by him? And after she was counterattacked, she temporarily lost consciousness. Johnny was then sniped, and she wasn't quite sure what happened. I kind of feel sorry for her. Although I have no sympathy for her. So, what are we going to do about TAC-50? We can't leave them be. They must be ready to snipe at anyone who comes to rescue Liko. Let's take the initiative and attack. Kirigiri said with a stern expression. I have an idea. Do you want to hear it? Of course. 6. We made a big detour from outside the amusement park and returned to the Mirror House again. The underground of the amusement park is full of passages used to manage power lines, which can be accessed from various manholes. We randomly selected one of these many manholes. We tied the digital camera to a rope and descended it in the manhole to make sure it is safe below. It looks like there is no one below. Kirigiri and I nodded silently to each other, and I climbed down the ladder to the underground first. The underground passage is wider than I imagined, enough for me to stand up straight and walk, but more than half of the passage area is occupied by cables and pipes, which still gives a lingering feeling of crampedness. Not only that, there is a terrible smell of stagnant air swirling, probably due to the fact that this place had been abandoned for a long time. At the end of the passageway, I saw the lights of work lighting dotted about. It's warmer than on the ground level, so my body felt comfortable, but the humid air is not good for my skin. It's agonizing to stay here for hours on end. Let's hurry. We walked along the passageway, trying not to make any footstep noises. Whenever the passageway turned a corner, we would temporarily stop and carefully check the situation ahead with our digital camera. After turning a few corners, we looked ahead with the camera and found a figure on the LCD screen. A person. I glanced at Kirigiri. It's a dead end of the underground passageway. A large man is sitting on a chair, eating a donut and looking at a monitor on a table. He doesn't seem to have found us yet. The distance is almost 15 meters, I think. I wonder if it is possible to leap out from the corner of the passageway and quickly snipe the man before he is aware of us. The guy is definitely a sniper on the same level as Johnny. By the time we finish aiming at him, he would have probably already pulled the trigger, and that would be the end of it. We cannot act recklessly. We have to aim carefully and precisely. We have to ensure that we confront him with absolutely no misfire, and that's what we need to achieve victory. I took Kirigiri's hand. She looked like she wanted to say something, so I lifted her bangs and kissed her on the forehead. If the strategy that Kirigiri came up with can be carried out as planned, then there will be no problem, and everything else will be pretty simple. Now then, let's settle this. At that time, the tip of my shoe touched something. It was probably a screw that can be seen everywhere and nothing out of the ordinary. It made metallic clanging sound and rolled on the ground. The big man got taken aback and looked my direction. I hurriedly reached out to grab the screw and accidentally stuck my body out of the corner. Our eyes met. You. The man said in a dry voice. It sounded like he has not had a chance to speak to anyone for several years. His voice was completely hoarse. The man is not holding a TAC-50, but a pistol. Of course, the muzzle is facing me, and he is probably ready to fire at any moment. My legs were frozen in place, unable to move. You are TAC-50? I asked in a trembling voice. Hey, you. Ugly four eyes, where's the cuter one? You ugly four eyes? What a terrible thing to say. Apart from that, apparently he is not aware that Kirigiri is also here. It's good to be able to determine that. I'll try to persuade him with all I can. Is this really the game you want to play? Aren't you frustrated that the committee is taking advantage of you for something like this? Shut up, ugly, hurry up and bring me the other one. I'm going to rape that kid in front of you, then kill you, and rape her again in front of your corpse. Fuck off, idiot. I couldn't help but shout. I can't be blamed for that, what a jerk. What? What did you say? The big man's face twisted. Hey you, do you even know what kind of situation you're in? He gestured with his pistol. No, I just cursed by accident. I didn't mean any offense. You think I won't shoot because you're the detective, right? You think I'm afraid of these insignificant rules? Do you dare to shoot? I faced him and straightened my chest. The big man frowned for a moment. What did you say? You would have shot me a long time ago if you had dared. You, absolutely, would not dare to shoot me. I'll shoot you, ugly. The big man did not hesitate to pull the trigger. Air was ejected from the muzzle, and at the same time, the bullet spun and flew out. The sleeve flicked back, and the empty shell popped out. The muzzle flash almost burned my eyes. The sound of gunfire echoed through the narrow passage. To me, it all felt like slow motion. I didn't even have time to scream. The bullet struck me in the forehead. Shards flew away. They are so bright and dazzling. Fragment after fragment reflected the big man's panicked expression. Ha! I disappeared from the big man's sight. Replaced by Kirigiri, who was prostrate and holding a gun, she suddenly appeared in front of his eyes like a magic trick. What the big man shot was a large one-way mirror, which we had brought from the mirror house. We put the mirror in the corner of the passage and set it up at a 45-degree angle, and I stood near the corner. That way, it looked to the big man as if I was standing in the middle of the passage, a classic mirror trick. The dimly lit, narrow aisle provided the perfect conditions for this trick to work. I tried my best to use my sloppy acting skills to provoke him to reveal an opening. During this time, behind the one-way mirror, Kirigiri kept the Remington M700 in a prostrate position. Of course, my pillow is under the butt of the gun. Her aim is perfectly aligned to the big man. The big man realized that something is wrong and was about to pull the trigger of the pistol again, but Kirigiri shot the pistol off with a single shot and then quickly loaded the next bullet with a smooth motion. Don't move, or I'll have to kill you, Kirigiri declared in an icy voice. The big man gave up his resistance and raised his hands. There happens to be a pair of handcuffs on the table, so I used that pair to handcuff the big man to a pipe. Then I shuddered at the thought of what he planned to do with them. You'd better pray for the police to arrest you first before the committee gets you. Kirigiri looked down at the big man and said, let's carry his guns away since it's dangerous. I picked up the TAC-50 that weighs 12 kilograms. And this one. Then picked up the pistol that had fallen on the ground. After that, I suddenly noticed that there was a small door on the wall next to it, and the door said Power Management Room. I opened the door curiously and took a look. In the darkness, the multicolored lights of the power switch flickered, and a woman is lying on the ground wearing furry white clothes. Kirigiri-chan, could that be? It's throwing knife. Her ghillie suit is torn and tattered, her chest is wide open, and there are blood spots on the floor. She is staring at the ceiling with wide eyes. What did you do to her? Kirigiri stared at the big man and asked. Want to know the details? The big man said this and laughed. Kirigiri turned her back to the big man in silence. 7. We climbed up the ladder of the manhole to the outside. It felt as if I had been smothered underground for decades. The fresh air permeated my whole body, and the gloomy sky cleared up. Is it because of my positive feelings? In any case, this amusement park is safe. We hurried to where Liko is. On the way, the locator suddenly sounded. All right, I forgot about this thing. I took the locator out of my pocket and turned it off. Liko! We're here to save you. I shouted at him. Liko is still lying in a pool of blood. His sharp outfit is also in a state of disrepair, stained reddish black with blood and torn in places by bullets, which is horrible to see. His face is pale, almost indistinguishable from snow, and his bangs are wet with sweat and stuck to his forehead. Kirigiri checked his pulse. Quite weak, but there is still a pulse. Liko, it's over. I exclaimed to him, and Liko's eyes opened slightly. Yui-san. Kyoko. He blinked and looked at us. You're going to be okay. I took off my coat and put it over him. I used my mobile phone to call the police and an ambulance. While it's possible that the ones who will come here might be the committee disguised as first responders, they shouldn't be so devoid of the spirit of fairness as to have to take him away after the game is over. Yui-san. Liko made a pain sound. What's wrong? Are you in pain? I've been waiting all day for CPR. It's not like you stopped breathing. There's no need for that. Then I'm going to stop breathing for a moment and die. Don't. It's all right, just lie still. Still the same Liko, who seems to be quite lively. He managed to keep himself alive from such a serious injury. I don't know if it should be attributed to his quick self-treatment measures, or just plain luck. Maybe both. Without realizing it, I glanced at Kirigiri. She is gazing at something in her hand with a serious face. What is it, Kirigiri-chan? This. She is holding the locator in her hand. What's wrong with it? One thing that concerns me is, she doesn't look too good. At that moment, I saw something terrifying. The snow behind Kirigiri bulged up silently. By the time I realized it, it has already turned into a human form. The person is wearing a fluffy lump of fur with a shiny silver knife in their hand. It's throwing knife. She is still alive. Kirigiri-chan. Right behind you. I didn't even have time to speak. Kirigiri noticed my expression and looked back. Her three-strand braid fluttered up. The knife swung high shone with a dazzling light. It will only take a moment for it to be swung down. A life will be cut short in an instant. I fell to my knees in despair. Then, at that moment, the forehead of throwing knife popped with a bang. Blood splattered. She was shot? She slowly fell on her back facing the sky. It was as if she was born in the snow and eventually died in the snow. I looked at Liko, who had fallen into a semi-conscious state, lying motionless, only holding a mobile phone in his hand. Not him. Then who was it? Kirigiri opened her mouth slightly and was speechless. At the moment when she was about to speak, her right ribbon slowly fell off. The next day, at 10 a.m., Kirigiri and I took the train to the university hospital. The sofas in the waiting room were full of people waiting to be called. We requested at the front desk to visit a patient in the general ward. May I ask the name of the inpatient? I replied that it's Mikagami Ray, and they said that there is no such patient. But Yui-sama. Kirigiri tugged at the hem of my jacket, and she wordlessly turned her eyes to the sofa in the waiting room. The ever-pretentious Ray is sitting there. He probably thinks that he has integrated himself with his surroundings, but his special aura is still hard to ignore. We left the reception desk and walked towards him. Liko, you are ready to be discharged? I greeted him and he shrugged. Either way, let's get out of here first. He said, stood up, put his jacket on his arm as usual, and left the hospital by himself. We followed him. We came to the park next to the hospital and sat side by side on a bench. The residual snow in the shade of the trees is melting slowly under the soft sunlight of winter. Elderly people who look like hospitalized patients are walking in the park accompanied by nurses, and children are having snowball fights. We've brought you some stuff for our visit. I rummaged through the paper bag. Let's see, flowers, disentanglement puzzles, middle school textbooks, some space books. I snuck out of the hospital because I'm in a complicated position. Liko said with a bitter smile. Like, for example, certain institutions in certain countries, or certain mafia groups. Right, you're a rare character being hunted by all sorts of people. Are your wounds okay? The bandage wrapped around his neck looks heart-wrenching. The other parts that have been treated are hidden under his clothes and I couldn't see them, so at first glance it seemed that there is no problem, but his face still does not look good. Although it's a compulsion, after suffering such a serious injury, he slipped out of the hospital after one night, which was really unreasonable. The wounds will heal eventually, although it still hurts. And I feel a little dizzy because of the loss of blood. Yui-san, can you let me suck some blood off your neck? Blood transfusion is fine, but not blood sucking. I wrapped my scarf around my neck. Liko smiled calmly, staring at Kirigiri who was sitting next to him. Kirigiri-san, you have an angry look. I've always had this look, she said, squinting her eyes. Liko, can I ask you a question? Go ahead. Sniping a companion coming to the rescue. It's a common tactic for snipers. You knew that Johnny Arp was alive, didn't you? Kirigiri asked this, and Liko responded with a smile that seemed to hide his feelings somewhere deep in his heart. How could I? What reason do I have to make this big of a sacrifice for him? Yes, but in the end, you managed to lure us out, who were planning to give up the game. Intuitive as you are, you should have been able to predict that we would give up just by looking at the contents of the black challenge dot. My intuition is not that strong, Liko said with a downcast look, clasping his hands on his lap. However, I was really happy that you two came to my rescue. I now understand how it feels for a princess to be rescued by a hero. Princess, hey. I stared at him fixedly. What's your actual gender? My gender doesn't matter. He said this with a mischievous smile. This is the end of your recklessness and taking advantage of others to fill your emptiness. Kirigiri said. And it's childish to try to find a reason to die before you are 20. You're very ruthless with your words today. She's been like this since last night. I told Liko in a whisper. Maybe because we lost to Johnny? Yui-1-sama. Sorry, nothing. By the way, said Liko. The body lying in the mirror house was that of an American named Joshua Lindbergh, a programmer. He was identified with his DNA. Ah, that's... He was the same one who programmed the M4 unmanned weapons. He was also one of the assassins who were on the scene. I don't know if Johnny-san knew about this early or late, and since the two of them look similar, he used that person as his scapegoat. That was too good to be coincidence, wasn't it? But it's true that Johnny-san did not participate in the arrangements of the Black Challenge, and I can guarantee the fairness in this regard. Especially in the last round, the committee deliberately sent an unorthodox challenge specifically to deal with Johnny-san. Then I'll believe that if Liko says it. According to the information provided by Liko, and with some speculations, what happened in the mirror house was as follows. Johnny escaped into the mirror house under the volley of throwing knife and M4, and happened to bump into Joshua who was lurking inside, with throwing knife chasing after him also joining the battle. The three started a fight. Ultimately, Johnny was the only winner. He must have thought of implementing the Burlstone Gambit at about that time, or maybe he thought of it after noticing the strange little hole in the ceiling where the one-way mirror. Johnny deliberately appeared in front of the camera and waited for TAC-50 to pull the trigger. After he heard the gunshot coming from the ground, he made Joshua stand in the designated place. The bullet stayed in the air for more than 5 seconds. He would be in time if he acted even after hearing the gunshot. Incidentally, by then, Joshua was either unconscious or had already been killed. The curved sniper shot smashed Joshua's head into pieces, and Johnny then had a corpse to replace him. Johnny put his clothes on the corpse and left the scene. By that time, he also did not forget to take his own gun. Johnny's gun wasn't there because he took it away himself. After that, Johnny hid from Liko who rushed into the mirror house. There was no shortage of places to hide in the mirror house. It is reasonable to assume that after Liko left, Johnny went out through the back door and was lurking nearby since then. As for his partner Liko, he also wanted to make him mistakenly believe that he was dead. I think the intention of this act was to lure us to the scene. Liko would naturally contact us and inform us of this situation as soon as he sees Johnny dead. As for whether Johnny expected that Liko to be seriously injured and almost killed, we don't know. But I think he probably expected it from the beginning. I wonder to what extent did Liko himself know? We will never know the answer. Kyoko-san, when did you find out that Johnny-san is still alive? Regretfully, it was when the locator went off. The locator? I tilted my head. Speaking of which, when we ran toward Liko, the locator did go off. It doesn't matter that it went off at that time. The problem is that when we approached Johnny's body, the locator didn't go off. If I had noticed earlier. I don't quite understand. You see, Yui-san, please recall the rules Johnny-san said, especially those related to the locators. One for each person. You must carry it with you during the game. Throwing it aside or hiding it somewhere will be considered a violation. When we checked Johnny's body, the locator didn't go off, which means that the locator wasn't near the body, and someone had taken it away. Yeah, and? There were two things missing from the scene, Johnny's gun and the locator used in the game. You should understand from this point that Johnny was still alive and intended to keep the game going. The reason he took the locator away was because he didn't want to break the rules. Ah. So that's what happened. I also overlooked the locator issue, but that was because the locators of the same team wouldn't go off, and there was no other way for me to find out. Liko said with a smile. Did Johnny not contact you at all after that? I asked. Yes, not once. And now he is also the committee's most wanted. We won't be able to meet him again. Maybe he is in a plane flying above some distant sky by now. He said he would travel everywhere. Winning then running away, huh? Oh well. I don't want to get involved in this kind of game again. It was really annoying. But it was fun, right? It wasn't fun. I raised my voice. How are you able to still say you had fun after getting this hurt? I actually had fun, but I agree with you. I don't want to do it again. I'm going to have to take it easy and disappear for a while so that I can focus on my treatment. You're leaving? Yes, I'm going to America as planned, to get to the heart of the world's unsolved mysteries. Liko said, staring at me. You'll miss me? Yeah, I guess. I'll miss you too. You don't mean it, do you? Foo-foo. I wonder. Liko laughed and played it off. I would keep him around if I can. As a detective, there is no one more reliable than him. However, I can't help but feel that if I have to involve him in the future, he would definitely put himself in harm's way. I would rather see him laughing and talking about this incident fondly when he grows up. Goodbye, huh? Isn't it too early for that? Liko said with a look of dismay. You are as cool as ever. At this rate, Yui-san will go to a place from which she can't come back from. At this rate, Yui-san will go to a place from which she can't come back from. The sign on the key has numbers and English letters written on it. I looked at the back, and the name of a nearby station was engraved on it. Looks like this is the key to a locker in that station. I put the key in my pocket and went back to my dorm room. I'm going to buy something. I said that to Kirigiri and went out. Kirigiri didn't say anything. The station is full of students and commuters, and it's just about lunchtime, with signs of lunch menus out in front of restaurants. I walked through the crowd and came to a locker in the corner of the station. The locker door with the number on the key is. Found it. I put the key in the lock and turned it. I timidly opened the locker door. I thought there would be something extraordinary in the locker, but there was only a small black envelope inside. A black envelope. It doesn't look the same as the previous challenge letter envelopes, but the black color of the envelope alone gave me a bad feeling. There was a sticky note attached to the envelope, and a sentence was scribbled on it in English. Life is what you make it. Johnny. Life is what you make it, that's what it should mean. I looked around, took out the black envelope, and closed the locker door. I stood there looking at what was in the envelope. Inside the envelope was. What is this? I bought coffee at a nearby convenience store and went back to the dormitory. Back in my dorm room, I was about to open the door, but Kirigiri suddenly blocked the door from the inside. Yui-1-sama, wait for 5 minutes. WH what? Don't ask. I waited at the door for 5 minutes as she said. Are you done? Please come in. I heard Kirigiri's voice, so I opened the door and walked into the room. Kirigiri has a nervous look on her face and is sitting upright in front of the low table. There is a beautiful chocolate cake on the low table. It's a cake from a well-known cake shop, which has been on TV and magazines many times. I once told Kirigiri that I wanted to try a cake from that shop. Whoa, what's up with that? I ordered it earlier and just picked it up. Was it while I was looking around for visit gifts? But how did you manage to reserve one? That must have been tough. I ordered it several days in advance. When did you? Speaking of which, she did come back from school late one day. Could it be that day? Let's eat now. Kirigiri set forks and plates on the table. I happened to buy coffee and handed her a can. February 14th, Valentine's.